Hello everyone, and welcome to the Fictional Vortex. So we are back with an interesting movie on What If Naruto Become Kyubbi of Six-Path Sage Naruto X Harem. But before we start, I just want to remind you to please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoy my content. Let's start the story. The Uzumaki clan of Uzushiogakure was among the most feared of shinobi clans. They were in a league that was only rivaled by the Uchiha and the Senju clans, for good reason. Their ability and aptitude in the sealing arts were the greatest ever seen in the elemental nations. With it, they could defeat entire nations with the right seal. This, combined by their incredible longevity, some of their members able to live up to 200 years, and their potent chakra is what led to their downfall. Fear is an extremely powerful driving force, and the Uzumaki were feared by all their enemies. But even with all of the people that feared them, T.S. was still not the extent of their power. Their bloodline went even deeper, able to access the Rinnegan in a more advanced level of their basic bloodline. But all of this power is what led to their destruction. After the Second Ninja War, Iwa, fearing the alliance of Uzu and Konoha, launch a preemptive attack on Uzu, destroying the village and scattering her few remaining citizens. The once great clan and her village were in ruins. Uzushiogakure and most of its people were destroyed in this one attack. Mito Uzumaki was one such person that survived the attack. She was the widowed wife of the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju. Their marriage helped reinforce the relations between the Senju clan and their distant relatives, the Uzumaki, and by extension the Leaf Village itself. But one of her, if not her most important roles, was the fact that she was the first host to the Kyubbi no Kitsune. After the first's battle with Madara Uchiha at the Valley of the End, she used her exceptional skill Fuinjutsu and sealed the beast into herself. She became the first ever host of the terrible demon. Fast forward several decades, in the waning years of her life, she was forced to choose the next host of the fox, lest the beast escape and wreak more havoc on her beloved home. The only logical choice was Kushina Uzumaki, because of her unnaturally potent chakra. She was also the orphan princess of Uzushiogakure. Her parents were Haya Uzumaki, daughter of Hashirama Senju and Mito Uzumaki, and Madara Uchiha, although only her mother knew this and took it to the grave with the destruction of Uzushiogakure. She was on her way to become the replacement Jinchuriki of the Kyubbi for her grandmother so that the beast would never be free, when the attack happened, and was devastated by the news when she found out. But she later put up a strong front when she joined the academy, and gained the name Red Hot-Blooded Habanera for her efforts. She grew up happy while she lived with Hiruzen and his wife Bawako Sarutobi of the Sarutobi clan. It wasn't till she was kidnapped and her rescue by Minato Namikaze had she truly started to enjoy her life in Konoha. Then tragedy struck in the form of the Third Ninja World War. The cause of the war was the attack on Uzu. Tensions had finally risen high enough that open fights would start any time Iwa and Konoha shinobi met. Out of the 5 major nations, Iwa and Konoha were against each other, while Kumo and Suna only joined in to gain the spoils of war and were working on their own, only helping one or the other side when it benefited them. As for Mizu Ey had just started a civil war between bloodline users, the rebels, and the shinobi that were loyal to the current Mizukage, Yagura the Jinchuriki of the Sanbi, the Kyodai game. Many legendary ninja fell in war, such as Tsukumo Hatake, a man that was said to be as strong as the third Hokage in his prime. But while many fell, others were born, like Minato Namikaze, the future Hokage, known for his sealing knowledge and his tactical genius on and off the field. There were others like Akasuna no Sasori, who became famous with his innovative use of puppets that few had ever thought of. Sadly, it was this war that led him to making his human puppets. Because of this, the third Kazekage had attacked him but was killed in the process. Eventually the war ended when Minato turned the tide of the war with his infamous Hiraishin no Jutsu. As the war ended, Kushina was ready to finally have a serious relationship with Minato, as they were soon married later that year by Hiruzen. The only ones at the wedding were Jiraiya, Tsunade, Bawako and Hiruzen, who was marrying the couple. They were married a year before the happy couple found out that Kushina would be having twins, one boy and one girl. Path of rebirth. Through all of this, the Kyubbi was awake and watching, waiting for an opportunity to get free from the second prison it found itself in. After over a decade of trying to escape, it stopped trying to use force and sat well hung around waiting for even the smallest of opportunities to be free. It saw a chance at entertainment and hopefully, if the odds were in its favor, a way out. When it sends Ed the twin children growing in its container's belly, it decided to make the children stronger. Because while it would never admit it out loud, these two young ones were its children too in some way. So the Kyubbi did the one thing Kushina did not want, it sent its chakra to the embryos. Once it was able to spread its chakra through the two, it went through the genetics of both and found that they had the genetic codes of the three descendant clans of the Rakuto Senin. Kyubbi also found that the Namikaze had a bloodline that gave the recipient a very high level for understanding how Jikuken worked. The Kyubbi knew that even with its massive chakra stores, it would take most if not all of its energy to just unlock the potential to use the bloodlines in one of them. It started with the boy to give it a fighting chance, knowing that if it did escape it would most likely end up in the girl, as was the tradition. By the time Kushina went into labor, it had only finished the boy's genetic makeover and had only just got started with the girl's Uzumaki bloodline, only able to awaken the basics of it. As all of this was happening, the village in the leaf thought that they would be at peace for a long time. Why wouldn't they? They had just won another war. And they would be right till the night of October 10th. Path to rebirth. As Kushina gave birth to her first child, a boy that was quickly named Naruto. He had a pale skin tone and a tuft of dark blonde hair with a few streaks of crimson red in it. The seal weakened. While this was happening, an orange-masked man hid in the shadows waiting for the best time to strike. As the second child was born, he saw his chance. The second baby was a girl that the parents lovingly named Narumi. She had pale skin tone and red hair, the same shade as her mother. This was when a man decided to attack. Just as Minato was about to stabilize the seal, two unmistakable cries of people dying ripped through their ears. Bawako-sama, Taji, Minato roared. His attention was grabbed by a new person who had somehow bypassed the guards and the barrier, wearing a hooded black cloak and an orange mask with black stripes and a single eye hole where the right eye should be. He was holding Narumi in his arm, one arm, prepared to strike her. Yondaime Hokage, Minato. Back away from the Jinchuriki or your daughter dies at the ripe age of 1 minute. Minato's eyes narrowed as two thoughts ran through his mind. How did he break through the barrier? Who the hell is this guy? The blonde Hokage was about to move to attempt to rescue his newborn daughter, when Kushina moaned as the Kyubbi began to push for its freedom from the seal on her exposed stomach. Kushina, he cried. The seal's not done, he thought. The masked assailant produced a kunai in his left hand and threatened the Hokage once more. Back away from the Jinchuriki, or don't you care if your daughter dies? Hold it, Jay, just calm down. Minato pleaded, raising his hand up in a reacna experienced another wave of pain. Then, to Minato's much growing fear, the man threw Narumi into the air. You should take your own advice, Minato. I'm perfectly calm, the man berated. Narumi, hush. Ina cried while her husband's gaze turned absolutely murderous as the wailing newborn started to fall and the man drew a kunai out in preparation for an upwards thrust. The next moment, Minato had Narumi in his arms as he rested his feet against the wall behind his attacker. You live up to the Kuroi Senku moniker, but what now? The man quipped with a backwards glance. Minato glanced down. Smoke flow up from the bottom of the baby blanket, and he recognized the flow as that of multiple paper bombs. A quick movement of his hands later and Minato separated the child from the impending explosion. Minato, Narumi, Kushina cried when she noticed the man in her life and her newborn daughter disappear. She turned and looked at the stranger angrily while holding onto her son close to her and said, "Don't you dare harm my son." The masked man cocked his head to the side and replied while walking over to her, "Why would I hurt a little brat like him?" He then picked up baby Naruto and put him in the crib that was to the side of the birthing table. The next thing Kushina saw was his head landing on her solder and the feeling a twisting sensation before everything went black. Path to rebirth. The house went up in fire and smoke as it exploded, and Minato, using his body to protect his and his wife's baby as they were thrown away from the blast. Thank Kami. You're not hurt, am I? Nato breathed a sigh of relief as he caught his breath while sitting on the ground, cradling the shrieking infant who obviously did not like all the jostling. Ow! Minato winced as he finally registered read the pain of a small piece of wood that had embedded itself in his lower right shin, through his pants and wrappings. He plucked the wood out and his mind was already trying to figure out why they had been attacked. He's after Kushina. He forced me to use my Hiraishin no Jutsu to separate us. Gotta hurry. He used his Hiraishin once more to get Narumi to another house. He then quickly placed Narumi in the bed-sized crib and wrapped a blanket around her. You'll be safe here, he mentioned, although he may have been trying to reassure himself. You'll wait here on your own for a bit, Narumi. I've gotta go save your mom before it's too late and see where your brother is. And like that he was gone in a flash of yellow light. The next place he appeared was the cave. He looked around to see that while Kushina was gone, most likely captured for the Kyubbi, he saw Naruto fast asleep in the crib. Good, you're safe. I need to go save your mother, little guy. I need to leave you here while I go save your mother. Promise to be brave while you're here. And like with Narumi, he was gone the next second, only leaving a flash of light. Path to rebirth. Kushina was strung up with chains binding her wrists that were tethered to several giant boulders jutting up from a mountain lake. Kanji were drawn around 4 vertical pieces of stone and along the chains, forming a seal, as the seal on Kushina gullet spread so that it began to manifest itself on the lower portion of her face. In her weakened condition, she was forced to kneel on another stone as the cloaked man stood before her and she pried for information. What are you after? I came to rip the Kyubbi from your stomach and use it to crush Konoha, the man answered. What? The shock caused by his answer stopped her thought process cold. Minato's teleportation jutsu uses a special marking that lets him instantly move from one marking to the next, the man continued. I see he's incorporated it into the design of your seal. The man's head lifted and in the eyelet of his mask, a fully mature, 3-tomo Sharingan was revealed. Also, he would always be there to protect you, but I managed to get away from him. And the seal has been greatly weakened from the birth of your twins. Do you have any idea how long I've waited for this moment? Realization began to dawn on the new mother and her eyes locked with the Sharingan as it peered into her. Allowing the man to enter the seal's inner construct where the Kyubbi was bound by chains to a large ball with each of its tails staked along with its torso and paws. It tried to fight off its assailant's genjutsu, but in its weakened state from upgrading the 2 children and trying to get free, the Sharingan easily prevailed and its slit eyes reflecting the Sharingan, the indicator that the man's control was a success. The chains began to melt and the stakes disappeared, allowing the fox's chakra to manifest as a chakra cloak around Kushina, who screamed in ag. Only when the fox began to emerge from the seal, her captor brought his right up in a hand seal and uttered his first command to his new beast, come forth, Kyubbi no Yoko. With a roar that shook the heavens, the full form of the beast emerged from its host. Below, the man turned from Kushina, who had collapsed now that the chains were no longer holding her up, and he commanded once more, we head for Konohagakure no Sato. Stop. A severely weakened Kushina squeaked out. The man did stop and turned back in slow surprise. The Uzumaki clan is really something special. Even wrenching a biju from your body didn't kill you right away. The fox above growled and the man spoke once more, mentally commanding the monstrous fox to smash the woman. It's only fitting for the Kyubbi to kill its former Jinchuriki. And just like that, the fox smashed its paw down where Kushina was laying, sprawled across the rock, unable to move. Upon contact, the section of ground exploded from the sheer amount of power exuded from said bijou. As the dust settled, Minato was crouching on top of a large tree, cradling his wife against himself. A small glimmer of hope, their enemy scoffed. But it's too late. Minato. Kushina huffed and struggled to speak. Are Naruto and Narumi, are they okay? The Yondaime smiled down at her. Yes, they're fine. I hid Narumi somewhere safe and Naruto is still in the delivery room. Oh, thank Kami. Kushina sighed, happy as any mother would be when knowing that their children were safe from harm. Minato. Stop him. Stop the Kyubbi, they're headed for the village. An unhappy Minato sighed as Kushina's eyes closed from exhaustion and he vanished with her. The man who had attacked merely looked on and spoke for no reason than to hear himself speak. Gone again, no matter, on to Konoha. Path to rebirth. The masked man went on to let the Kyubbi out in the heart of Konoha where it could cause the most damage. It wasn't till Minato was able to drive him away That he got the chance to seal away the Kyubbi. But as the masked man was fleeing he said, "I will have the Kyubbi one way or another." Instead of using the Shikifuin to seal the beast away he used a variant, so that he could stay alive. That spilt the fox's chakra into yin and yang. He sealed the yin into his wife and the yang into his daughter. The citizens of Konoha celebrated their apparent victory over the Kyubbi. Naruto, who was left alone in the cave, had a little of the Kyubbi's chakra which was left inside of him from the remodeling. It had no sentience or much power but enough to connect with the young baby boy on an instinctual level and give him comfort. Madara appeared in the cave that the birth of his grandchildren had taken place in. He turned to look at the baby boy as he thought about the future and what he would have to do to make his plans complete. The cave was unstable after all the fighting that went on in such a short amount of time. It is because of this a fairly large chunk of rock fell above Naruto. Madara, seeing what was about to happen to the newborn, was about to intervene when, before it could hurt the baby, Naruto's eyes opened to reveal metal. Lit purple color eyes with a black ripple line effect going out from the center, and a bubble of force surrounded the child Krook. When the danger was over the infant gave out a tired yawn and went to sleep. As he was closing his eyes the Rinnegan deactivated. Madara stood there in shock, happy that his mask covered his face because of how unlike a ninja it was to do that. You could be the deciding factor in the war to come. I may just choose you over your sister now that I know you're special to Naruto-chan. You will be a good boy for your Gigi, won't you? Madara said in a way that although it was sweet, was creepy for anyone that knew him. After spending about half an hour with the young boy, Madara left. Path to Rebirth. It was a week later when the Toad Sage Jiraiya was able to get back to Konoha. In that week many things had happened that had miraculously helped the Leaf Village. One of them was that with the destruction of a good portion of the village, the spies that were inside were easily found and apprehended when they were trying to report back to their villages on what happened. Another was the better than expected acceptance of the fact that the Kyubbi was sealed, unbeknownst to them it was for the third time. Among the many hurt citizens, Kushina was taken to the hospital in time to be healed by Tsunade that had arrived a few days after the event. Jiraiya CKLY rushed past the entrance and made his way to the Hokage Tower, where the third and fourth Hokage were discussing what to do for the rebuilding project that was happening after the mess that the fox had caused. As he entered the Hokage office he hears Minato telling an Anbu, tighten security around the village. He turns his head to the Jonin commander Shikaku and said, "Call back half of all on mission teams, we need more manpower." Quote, "Hi, Lord Hokage," the seal-masked Anbu agent and Shikaku said. Jiraiya coughed into his hand to get their attention. Hiruzen Sarutobi turned first and smiled to see his last truly loyal student left. "Ah, Jiraiya-kun, it's good to see. What news do you have to report on the events going on outside of Konoha?" he asked in a kind but serious voice. Minato looked up to hear the answer also. "Everything is going as expected. Suna is trying to send support as requested by Minato. Mizu has found out about the attack somehow, but while Mizu would have a good chance to cause some trouble, the civil war going on over there holds them off. Iwa and Kumo have heard nothing from what I can tell from the spies in those areas. The minor villages besides AIM seem to be a peacetime level of military readiness, but I wouldn't worry about AIM too much, they're always like that. But on the safe side it would be good to beef up around here for at least a month so villags like Iwa, if they do find out, won't try anything." Jiraiya finished reporting. Minato nods his head while thinking about the problems that are happening now. He can't help but think about Child of He prophecy that Jiraiya had talked about. "Jiraiya-sensei, I have been thinking about the prophecy you told me, how you thought it was about me." Jiraiya nodded. "Yay, but the old toad can barely rhyme. Anything, I wouldn't get your hopes up on being more famous than you are now." He finished with a loud laugh, hoping to raise the spirits in the room some. After hearing that, Minato was silent for a time before saying, "Could Narumi be the child of prophecy?" Both Hiruzen and Jiraiya's looks grow hard when he asked this question. "She could be. She has a great power in her, and from what I hear from the message you sent me, she does have the good half, the yang half, of the Kyubbi's power in her. I would say that she could be that child, but why would you want that? But anyways, you won't have Eat a worry about that till the one to bring destruction comes around, Jiraiya asked in worry. I waited to tell either of you this till you both were here where I could get a proper judgment from the both of you. The Kyubi didn't escape. The two older men's eyes widen at the implication that someone wanted the Kyubi out. It was freed by a masked man, who I think was Madara. Minato said with a grim look to his face as both men visibly paled at the mention of that man's name, and continued to pale as Minato said, he had the ability to use Jikuken Jutsu that could keep up with me. Truth be told, they are stronger than my Hiraishin Jutsu. What do you mean stronger than yours? Jiraiya questioned in worry as the strongest jutsu he knew could be beat so easily. His unlike my version does. NT need a seal to work and from what I could figure out he has no limit on how far he could travel. Minato said with no small amount of hurt pride over his best jutsu being beaten so easily. I can see why you think she's the prophecy child now. Jiraiya said, but what can we do about it? I highly doubt even at Sensei's strongest that he could fight Madara. What makes you think that? Narumi will be able to do it. No offense Sensei. He quickly added, not trying to sound rude. None taken. It's true, even in my prime with all my knowledge that I have now, I would still have a hard time fighting the man. That's just how strong he and Hashirama Sensei were. Hiruzen told the two of them, not trying to sugarcoat anything, if the man that had killed his wife really was Madara. Minato looks up at Jiraiya and Hiruzen. Because Jiraiya, I believe in her. She's my child, and because and eventually you will train her to be the best ninja ever. Minato said with conviction in his voice. And like that, Jiraiya's personality did a complete 180 as he went from being serious to groaning at the prospect of training another brat. Okay, but don't even think that I will train the little Gaki till she's older. I think I'll start her training after her first Chunin exam. Jiraiya said with a small smile on his face. Good, that will allow me to train her at from 6 or 7 so she can have good basic understanding of chakra to start trying to take control of the Kyubi's chakra. Minato said as if he was finalizing a plan. Hiruzen gained a hard look on his face at the fact that neither Minato nor Jiraiya even mentioned Naruto's training. So he asked, what about little Naruto-chan's training? Oh, I was going to start his training when he was 12, around the time that he started the academy. Why? Minato questioned, truly perplexed at Hiruzen's sudden interest in his son's training. Oh, just wanted to know is all. Hiruzen said, but didn't push any further. If he doesn't train the boy in a few years, I might have something to do in my free time, thought Hiruzen, giving a small grin inside his head. I must be going now, I have clan matters to handle. Have a good day you two, he said, nodding goodbye to the two. The two younger men in the room were curious about the out-of-nowhere question but left it alone. He's old after all. Minato turns back to his sensei and said, Jiraiya, I need you to leave within 3 days' time to see if you can find anywhere Madara would be hiding. You got it. By the way, how are Kushina and the kids doing? Jiraiya asked. They're doing good. Kushina is at the hospital now, recovering from the Kyubi being taken and then being put back in her. The kids are there with her. She won't let them leave her sight. Minato said with concern and finished with a chuckle. I'm sure she will heal up just fine. She is after all an Uzumaki. Jiraiya said reassuringly. I might as well think about something new to write while I have a break. I'm not getting money from my first book. Jiraiya said with a sigh. It's okay, I know you will think of something to write about, Jiraiya Sensei. Minato says with a good-natured smile. Jiraiya laughs and says goodbye as he hops out the window so he can go relax at the hot spring, neither knowing that day was the birth of the Ika book. Path to Rebirth. In a city that had constant rain, in the city's tallest tower sat two people. One male and one female. Both wore black chin-length collar cloaks with red clouds outlined in white. The male had spiky orange hair with 6 black metal studs in his nose and 7 in each ear. His eyes were the same as a special newborn baby's eyes, the Rinnegan. The female had a bun style on one side of her head. She had orange eyes, blue lipstick and eyeshadow. She also had a lip piercing. Both people had blank looks on their faces. When did he say he would be here, Pain-sama? Questioned the woman. The man, now known as Pain, turned to look at her and said, he will get here when he gets here, Conan. Before she could say something else, a man with a mask appeared to be walking in from outside through the mouth-shaped door. Ah, did little Conan-chan miss me? questioned Madara in a happy voice. Her glare was lost on neither of the men in the room, but they just didn't care. Pain turned to Madara and asked, "What are your orders now, Madara?" "Continue as planned," Madara replied without missing a beat. Both Pain and Konan nodded and got up to leave when Madara said something that stopped both cold in their tracks. "I think it would interest the two of you to know I found some of your family Nagato. That alone would be cause to make the mortal god both worry and happy for their safety." But what Madara said next was cruel, and he just so happens to have awakened the Rinnegan. Both people leaving whipped their heads around to find out more information, only to see Madara teleporting away in his own personal way, laughing like the only man that got a joke no one else heard. Konoha, Namikaze Clan Compound, 2:36 p.m. It has been 6.5 years since that fateful night when the fourth Hokage sealed the Kyubi into his newborn daughter Narumi. Naruto and Narumi are both 6.5 years old. Narumi looks just like her mother did as a child, having long red hair that reaches her mid-back, pale white skin that she got from her father, and she has a round face like her mother. She usually wears a mesh undershirt, with a spandex workout suit over it, an orange female shinobi outfit, and finally the standard issue ninja sandals. 1. Naruto has changed from what he first looked like as an infant. To the point some people had wondered if he was even Minato's son. His once spiky golden blonde with crimson-streaked hair had changed to pitch black with dark crimson, almost blood-colored highlights, and instead of being spiky like his father's, it laid down more too. He had a good tan from being outside training or just walking in the forests around Konoha. He, like his sister, wears a mesh undershirt, a black GI top and bottom that was made to be worn out with red lining, a GI belt that was black on red, and standard issue ninja sandals. 3. At the Uzumaki Namikaze house there is a training area. In the backyard, Narumi is training to bring out her chakra for the first time. 2-san, I did it. Narumi happily shouted as she jumped up and down. I did it, I did it. She repeated again. That's great, dear, Minato says. Minato was a 35-some-year-old male with spiky pale golden blonde hair, light white skin tone, and a muscular build. His outfit has not changed much in the last 6 years. He wears the Jonin flak jacket, a sleeveless navy blue turtleneck with black arm warmers held on by bands. He has on ninja pants with a hip pouch for kunai, and he has his ankles bandaged with shinobi sandals on. Narumi smiles even wider than before and asked in an excited voice, "What is the next step, 2-san?" He can only chuckle as his daughter acts like the little kid she is. The next step would be to see how long you can use your chakra and then how much chakra control training you need to do. A pout slowly grows on her face as she asks, "Ah, come on too. You-san, can't you teach me a strong fighting style or maybe a fire jutsu?" Kushina, who had been inside during this, heard what was said and walked outside. As she joined in on the conversation, she gained a confused look when she heard this. "Dear, you know you can't do those yet, you're too young," she said in a placating manner to calm her overactive daughter down before she could start complaining. "Even with your bloodline activated, which has allowed you to start training your body, you are still too young and wouldn't be able to take the strain of the training you're asking for," Kushina said in a motherly but firm tone. Minato hears the threat and laughs nervously. "I was just about to say the same thing to her," he says while lying through his teeth. That's what I thought you were going to say." She then switches back to a happy mode and asks if anyone has seen Naruto. She frowns when both look at her and shake their heads no. Path to Rebirth. 5 minutes earlier, Naruto was watching his family interact with each other. He had hidden himself in a clearing in the woods in such a way that while he could see everything that was happening in the training area, his family could not see him. Naruto had asked on many occasions if his Ka-san or 2-san would train him with Narumi. He thought it was fair, but he didn't understand why Minato always said that they had to train his sister because she was special while he wasn't ready. His mother though said he didn't need to worry because when they reached the right age she would start training him along with Narumi when she felt they were both ready. It was this lack of caring for his son in the most basic of areas for a ninja that started to split the family apart, with Minato and Narumi on one side and Naruto on the other, with Kushina in the middle having to play peacekeeper. This is what really forced Naruto to only care for his mother. It wasn't till a few months ago that Hiruzen started training him, without his parents' knowledge. Naruto and Hiruzen-sensei had agreed to keep everything under wraps. Even now he was training with a cage-level chakra control exercise, something that Hiruzen called the Enlightenment Jutsu to understand his chakra on a level that only a few shinobi of the strongest caliber had been able to accomplish. Even though few knew about the training exercise, fewer knew that one had to be well in tune with their chakra to be able to accomplish this feat. It was for that reason that Hiruzen had made him do nothing but chakra exercises for 3 months. His training really picked up when he learned the Kage Bushin no Jutsu and was able to make up to 5 clones from the start. From what Sarutobi said, he was getting closer and would master the enlightenment exercise soon. He stopped his exercise when he heard his mother ask Narumi and Minato his whereabouts. He couldn't help but sigh as he had to deal with his mostly annoying family again. "I'm here, Ka-san, what do you need?" he asked with a smile on his face. But it was hard to tell if he was truly happy with the calm but cold childlike voice of his. This was one of the only things that upset Kushina about her son, was the fact that she couldn't tell if her child was happy. "Oh, there you are. You keep popping up when I least expect it," Kushina said as she put a hand to her chest, taking a calming breath after she yelped in surprise at the fact that he was able to sneak up behind her. It didn't help that Narumi jumped and screamed at his sudden appearance. "Where did you come from, Ni-chan? Don't scare me like that," Narumi said in a loud voice. Naruto took a quick glance at her but then ignored her as he looked up at Kushina again and politely asked, "What do you need, Ka-san?" While she was sad that her children did not get along, she knew ultimately it was her and Minato's faults, so she replied, "Hiruzen is expecting you this evening for your regular talks. You need to hurry up or you'll be late, Sochi." Naruto's eyes widened. "I must have been too focused with the meditation." He looked at her thankfully. "Thank you," he said in a grateful voice because he truly had forgotten what time it was. "I need to be going. See you later." Path to Rebirth. As Naruto was roof-hopping to the Sarutobi compound, he couldn't help but think about what had happened to lead him to being trained by the ninja called the Prophase. Sword that knew more than any other single shinobi, a man that was called the God of Shinobi, a title only given to one other man because he was so powerful. Flashback 3 months. Naruto had finally gotten tired of being ignored by his father for training, so he started out with him taking scrolls and books out of the family library. But even with him being a genius by anyone's standards, he was still a 6-year-old boy, and without someone to train him he could hardly understand, much less do any of the complicated jutsu that he was reading. So he started going to the shinobi and civilian libraries so he could work his way up. He knew that it didn't have much in the selection of choice in these libraries because they were meant for clan-less shinobi that needed help. It was during the 2 months it took him to reach a 5-level journeyman status in Fuinjutsu that he learned to love genjutsu. It was here that he fully understood that besides basic strength building exercises and Fuinjutsu training, genjutsu was the only other skill he could learn without hurting himself in the long run. He learned fast, and in his opinion it was the strongest chakra-based skill besides Fuinjutsu for a real shinobi. Currently inside the village only the Uchiha and the Kurama clans were naturally good at genjutsu, with the Kurama clan giving birth to a member every few generations that had the ability to make other inflict pain onto themselves through genjutsu thanks to the demon Ito. There was one person that excelled at genjutsu that was not from a clan, and her name was Kurenai Yuhi. She was a master at said genjutsu and an expert in freeform. Some say that she was a genius at genjutsu not seen in a long time. For the next month he had taken a passion for sealing and illusions equally, contributing it to his mother's side of the family on both accounts. While he knew that Fuinjutsu could do just about anything, he needed somebody to learn from to progress to a better understanding of the art to continue on his own. He wanted his mother to teach him, but she said she would start teaching him once he was 8. It was the same with genjutsu. Without someone to teach him he couldn't learn the complexity that genjutsu had without taking an even longer time to master it himself. But he did know one thing: genjutsu took control, so he did exercises while learning what he could form the shinobi library. But even with the strength of these arts he need diversify. That's where his current dilemma came from. While his parents had many scrolls, most were still on a level where he would need a teacher to further his training. Any of their personal jutsu that he might be able to learn on his own were safely locked up in vaults, secured by some of the strongest seals made outside of the Uzumaki clan. So no one could get to them. One day Naruto came up with an idea: the only other place I could get high-ranked jutsu to control, though dangerous, would be the Hokage library in the tower. Naruto thought, contemplating sneaking into one of the highest security buildings in Konoha. After a few hours of thinking about what to do, he gained the resolve that a 6-year-old shouldn't have. Path to Rebirth. That night, 1:26 a.m. As night fell, Naruto made his way into the heart of Konoha to the tower and used his barely trained sensor abilities to see where the guards were. He found that the only ones on the outside of the building were the ones at the front door and at the back entrance. They were only Chunin-level shinobi at the most. He knew using any chakra would get him caught, so he quietly scaled up the side of a neighboring building by using kunai and jamming them into wall to use as handholds. When he was sure that there was no other shinobi patrolling the area, he took a run. Ning start before adding the barest amount of chakra to his legs and jumped over the wall that protect the tower from outside treats. As he was falling, he tucked himself into a ball so that as he hit the ground with as little force or noise as possible so as not to alert the guards. He rested for a few seconds to catch his breath and thought, okay, first step done. Now I need to get into the tower. It would be bad to go in through the top just in case they have more ninja stationed there. I could try the scaling the building till I get to a walkway, then go from there. Yes, that is the best option. His mind made up, he found one of the few pipes on the outside of the building and started climbing. When he reached the end of the pipe, he was a few feet below a landing. Naruto easily jumped the last 5 feet, where he grabbed hold of the rail and pulled himself up over the edge. Once he was safely on the landing, he went to the door and found it locked with a standard issue chamber that was easy to pick if you had at least some skill. Once he picked the lock, he ran down the empty halls of the tower, wondering if the village was really this arrogant to leave the seat of power in Konoha unprotected. As he arrived on the floor of the library, he heard people coming down the hall and raised voices. Thinking quickly, he jumped on the wall, attaching himself to the ceiling, where he suppressed his chakra to his lowest level. As he hid in the shadows provided by the ceiling, he watched as 2 people came around the corner. One was Hiruzen Sarutobi and the other an Anbu. I'm telling you, I heard something down here, Sarutobi-sama. Quote. Hiruzen was silent for what felt like forever to Naruto, and then finally he said, leave it alone. Can't you feel that no one is even here? Hiruzen was an old man in his 60s with dark tan skin, white-gray hair, and liver spots on his face. He wore the Hokage cloak, but underneath he was wearing full body armor like he was all the time. When asked why he did, he would always say, better to be ready for anything than nothing. Yes sir, I will report back to guarding your office, the Anbu said in an emotionless voice that had the tiniest hints of hame that he brought the older male when he didn't need to. When both Solidar and Old Commander left, Naruto waited for a few more minutes before falling down from the ceiling and started making his way to the Hokage's library. There it was, the Fuin no Sho Scroll of Seals. Naruto had heard about it from passing when his parents talked about jutsu that were too dangerous, they were put in it. Becca. Use of this, the scroll had jutsu the Hokage's past and present had forbidden, either for the caster's safety or for personal reasons it had to be protected. He knew that he wouldn't have much time to look at the scroll without the risk of being caught, so he brought a scroll to copy jutsu into. As he opened it, the first jutsu happened to be Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. As he read the description, he saw jutsu for what it was really worth and copied it down. While going through the scroll, the only other jutsu that he found interesting were Kuchiyos, Edo Tensai, which allowed one to bring back the dead. The others, while strong in their own right, were jutsu that only the Hokage that made them could really perform. Before he could write any more than the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu down, he felt a hand on his shoulder and jumped into the air a good 4 feet. Path to Rebirth. 2:09 a.m. Hiruzen was watching the whole event play out. He was really impressed that Minato's boy could get this far without being caught. As he tried to steal classified secrets that were meant to be guarded by the Hokage themselves, which is why he was in charge of the jutsu library till he wanted to retire. Well, it's a boo. Time I put a stop to this and find out why the hell he even tried doing something so stupid, he thought. He walked out of the shadows that he had been hiding in and walked silently behind Naruto. As he put his hand on the boy's shoulder, he said out loud, "So you mind telling me what you're doing?" And just like that, Naruto was the perfect impression of a solid stone statue before he jumped. Seeing this, Hiruzen couldn't help but laugh. "Come with me to my office so we can discuss what has happened here tonight over some tea." Naruto could do nothing but nod his head and accept any punishment that was given to him. Knowing there was no way out of this for him. Path to Rebirth, Hiruzen's personal office, 2:14 a.m. As Naruto and Hiruzen sat down and drank their tea, each was thinking about the best thing to say next. The old Mo, "So tell me why you were doing something that would give me the right to kill you or anyone else in the same position." Naruto was quiet for a long time, thinking what to say till he decided to tell the truth. "For the last 3 months I have been training myself because my parents won't train me. Well, more like my two-san wouldn't train me. My ka-san hasn't started training either me or Narumi, because she says we're too young for her king of jutsu." Naruto paused and thought before continuing, "I knew I wouldn't get any further without a teacher, so I came here tonight to find some new jutsu to study and learn because I'm teaching myself." Hiruzen had a thoughtful look on his face as he remembered the promise he made to train the boy if his parents didn't. It wouldn't be a bad idea to train him. He was able to get in here undetected, means he has at least Jonin level in stealth and evasion, and from the way he's talking he sounds like he at least knows the basics of all the basic 3 shinobi arts. I need to find out his skill level soon. He has a lot of potential, he may even be the next Kami no Shinobi. He smiled at the thought of passing on his legacy. Hiruzen looked to Naruto for a few seconds before he asked, "You said that you wouldn't have stolen from the Hokage's library if you had a teacher to teach you. Am I right?" With a bewildered look on his face at the random question, Naruto could only nod his head, unsure where this was leading. "Well, how about I teach you?" And as he said this, poor Naruto was in an even bigger case of shock. "I would be honored to have you as a teacher," said Naruto, showing true happiness for the first time in many months to a person besides his mother. "But why would you want to train me? I thought I would be in trouble, or at the very least not get a teacher till I was in the academy." "Well, if you think you should be punished, I will train you twice as hard, till you could beat my students at the same time in their prime," said Hiruzen in a faux serious voice that didn't work that well with the kind-hearted smile on his face. Naruto couldn't have hoped for a better outcome than to be trained by one of, if not the strongest ninja in at least 3 different generations. He couldn't repeat himself, "I would be honored to be trained by you." "Naruto, I need to know what level you were with your training at this time, so I know where to go from here," Hiruzen asked. Well, I have been doing some basic physical exercises to get my strength up for when I start my taijutsu training. I think I'm at a genin level of genjutsu, maybe higher, just because I have only tested it on civilians. I haven't tried ninjutsu because I don't know my element yet. The only other area I have knowledge is fuinjutsu, and from the seals I have been able to do, I'm at a level 5. Journeyman. Naruto finished explaining his skills to his new sensei. His fuinjutsu is extraordinary for his even for an Uzumaki's growth when it comes to seals. And with the Uzumaki bloodline unlocked, he would be able to train without any lasting damage, not to mention that he says he is at least as good as a genin in genjutsu. Probably doesn't know that to be even that good at genjutsu at this age would mean his brain was already highly developed. He might be good at different type of mind arts like the Yamanaka clan. Hiruzen thought on Naruto's skills for a little while before asking the boy a question. "Would you do anything I told you to do to become strong, no matter how challenging the task may be?" The old man asks to see how strong the boy's will of fire was, so to speak. "Yes, I have the will to take on anything you throw at me," Naruto said with conviction in his voice. Hiruzen looked at Naruto before saying, "Naruto, I need to make something clear to you that I had to find out the hard way in life. The will of fire doesn't mean protect this village and your friends and you will be strong. It doesn't even mean work as a team to be strong. It is the willpower people have to do what they dream of." When he saw how hesitant Naruto was on the concept, he decided on a more direct approach with telling him, "What most people want to forget is that past all the kind eyes, the kind words, and the kind act that the Senju did, the Senju clan, who were once called the kindest CL. And in all the nations, were still shinobi. They still killed others for what they thought was right. The will of fire in its truest meaning is to have a will strong enough to do anything you must for what you think of as right. Naruto sat there thinking about what his new sensei said. I can understand that. When I heard my parents or other adults say things like only the good and noble are strong, I couldn't help but think about the bad guys, like Madara Uchiha, who abandoned his clan. He was said to be evil, yet he was nearly as strong as Hashirama, both of which could destroy entire villages with a few well-placed jutsu. Good, you understand it then. Naruto, you must know I tell you this not to hurt your trust in the village, but because you need to understand how the world is run by the people with power, and usually they are the ones with the strongest wills. Simply put, Naruto, if you want to make a world that better than this one, you will have to fight for it, and you can't let morality stop you. Hiruzen said. It was at this moment that Naruto knew he could not be an idealist like his father or the other Hokages had been, believing that people were ultimately good. But as he thought about the people in the village, he knew deep down that people were bad and rotten inside. There were some exceptions like always, but too few to even matter. Good, then starting tomorrow we will start your training. Come to my clan compound at 10:30 a.m. From now on I don't want you sneaking around the tower to get scrolls. You have my permission to use the library here to better yourself. Naruto gained a look as if he was allowed to play forever in his personal toy store. Then Naruto looked confused about something before asking, Hiruzen-sensei, if the Hokage is supposed to keep track of the library, then why are you doing it? Hiruzen was actually surprised that he was perceptive enough to pick up on that. Well, Naruto-chan, once you become Hokage you hold that position until the day you die. So when I gave the hat over to your father he took all the work from me, but when the Kyubbi attacked there was simply too much to do for him, so I came back and we split the workload to give him some room to do what needed to be done. After a while it just kind of stayed this way and I'm working till I want to stop. It just so happens that some of the things I'm tasked with are internal security and keeping watch over the library and the archives. As he answered he saw Naruto nodding head in understanding. Now why don't you give me what you copied down from the scroll so I can see what you can use? Hiruzen asked, his hand outstretched. Naruto gave him the scroll but said, I only had time to copy the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and look through the rest. Well, Kage Bunshin is perfect for you as it was made by the Uzumaki clan. What else interested you, Naruto-chan? He asked. Well, the Kuchiyos. Edo Tensei did. Imagine being able to bringing back past shinobi and having them teach you things they knew. Naruto said. Naruto, you do know the conditions for that jutsu, right? Hiruzen asked, worried that they might have another Orochimaru in the making. Quote, I do, but I think it's really useful, and if I couldn't use it safely I still think I could make the jutsu better for others to use. Even if I couldn't do that I could always make other jutsu and seals from it using the knowledge in its design, said Naruto. Make it better how? Hiruzen asks, truly curious now by this proclamation. I mean like taking away the human sacrifice part, clarified Naruto. Okay, but if anything goes wrong remember to let me know and I will be able to help you. Hiruzen said. Okay sensei, what will we be doing first? Asked Naruto. Okay, the main thing I will train Aang will be chakra growth and control. Because we need to make sure you can do the jutsu I teach you in the future. I will also train you physically and psychologically as well as the basics that all true shinobi should know. After we have gotten your chakra in both control and size to a level which I find acceptable we will start teaching you genjutsu and ninjutsu, mainly with other things. Will we train you in some taijutsu and wait till you're older to start training you seriously in it. Hiruzen finished listing. Now about telling your parents, don't. This training will be secret. We can you're coming to me to learn about history and calligraphy, which you will be learning from me by the way. Yes sir, I will be ready tomorrow to start training. Naruto said happily. Good, now go home and get some sleep. Hiruzen ordered. Path to rebirth. Hiruzen did not disappoint Naruto when it came to his training. He was a slave driver but he got done what needed to be done. The first thing he had asked Naruto was what control exercise he had trained in. For his part he was confused and replied, what do you mean? I have been doing a meditation where I feel where my chakra paths are. I can learn to control the way my chakra moves. Naruto, that is an exercise that Jonin usually use because their chakra stores are too large to control with basic control training. But the upside to it is that the chakra that you learn to control this way will be under control a lot longer than other methods as long as there is no serious jump in chakra. But you won't be doing that one foe. Now I want you to use your chakra to climb this tree with your feet. During that week he did nothing but tree walking and physical exercises, not because it took him that long but because Hiruzen wanted him to know all the ways he could use this skill. About a week into training, Naruto asked if there was a way to suppress or disrupt his chakra so that he could train his control to a whole new level. The old monkey had the perfect seal for both. It was a variant on the seal called Gogyo Fuin. It was made to disrupt chakra like how the Gogyo Fuin did with Jinchuriki demon chakra. It had the add-D benefit to suppress chakra, which was why it was implemented in Konoha prison. It was taught to him by Mito while she had been alive, though she never named it. With it, Naruto could place it on himself to disrupt his control so that while he trained it would be like training from scratch, but the benefit was when released his control and supply would skyrocket. He could keep placing it on himself over and over again to gain both larger chakra stores but a perfect chakra control, the likes of which only someone on Tsunade's level would be able to understand. But his training really progressed. Hiruzen said that he had enough chakra to use the shadow clones. And as he learned the technique, his training went by fast. The next exercise Hiruzen made him do was the water waking skill. Second week Naruto did nothing but water walking and drills during this time also. Halfway through the week Hiruzen started teaching Naruto the Academy Jutsu and their uses in battle, that many ninja in the last 2 generations had turned away from thinking them useless. As time went on, Hiruzen went on to teach him other control exercises like the leaf balancing that taught how to split one's focus and how to use different amounts of chakra in different areas of the body. He was also taught the upgraded version kunai balancing. This gave you an edge in battle if you used it the right way. Another one was chakra balancing, where the user learns to keep themselves balanced with the chakra in one's body. Hiruzen had Naruto train in this till it was subconscious that he was even doing it anymore. One of the last exercises he was taught was point control. It was like kunai balancing but more precise in that it taught someone that instead of using chakra to cover the entire foot to walk on walls, one only had to use chakra from one point to get the job done at lower the cost. After the 2 months of constant training with clones, Hiruzen had finally given him his last control exercise. He warned Naruto that it could be dangerous. He called it the enlightenment control and said it would give him an understanding and control to his chakra that few had. End flashback. Naruto arrived at the training ground where Hiruzen was waiting. Hiruzen looked up and said, "Naruto, I want you to get into the meditative position and do your best to complete the enlightenment chakra control exercise today." Naruto nodded to his teacher and sat on the ground. He then crossed his legs and put a hand on each knee. He took deep calming breaths at first, then slow shallow breaths as the world around him faded away and he concentrated totally on himself. When this happened, he arrived in his mindscape. He was confused. He decided to ask Sensei later as he continued. Then finally even he was gone. The only thing left was his chakra. Once he was finally in the right stage of mind, he first called forth his chakra. He then spread it out over his entire being, keeping it from escaping his body. Once this step was complete, he made his chakra go through his entire body, in every cell in himself. For a brief moment Naruto saw everything that his body could do and everything he was capable of. In that one instant Naruto had become one with himself, but the strain on his young mind was too much to handle, so he passed out. Hiruzen saw the whole thing and couldn't help but be proud that his student did what so few had ever done or would ever do. I'll let him rest today. Once he wakes up we need to see if anything is wrong with him. It was mid-afternoon around 4 when Naruto woke up. Dear God. I'm so tired right now I can't even move to get up. He thought in annoyance. So you're finally awake, Naruto-kun. How was your nap? Hiruzen questioned with good-hearted joke. I'm dead on my feet and I am so tired right now I can barely move. Naruto said with a tired voice. Well, that is to be expected. You did just complete a control exercise that usually only the most devout monks or that the strongest of shinobi use to go to an even higher level of understanding. The monkey said with mirth. Anything you want to ask Naruto? Hiruzen asked, seeing Naruto's thoughtful but tired face. Before I finished the mediation I appeared in, I don't know what to call it, somewhere else. I didn't get a good enough look at it before I continued on with the exercise. There's something else. When I was finishing the enlightenment exercise I felt like I was one with myself, like I knew everything that I can do. But it's hard to remember all of it. Naruto says, still not moving because of the utter exhaustion. Well, from what I can tell it sounds like you went to your mindscape. Hiruzen said. Tell me, Naruto, what do you know about mindscapes? He questioned, wanting to know how much his student knew. I don't know much. What I do know is that mostly ninja with a heavy genjutsu or mental background have them, and the most natural at mindscapes would be the Jinchuriki. Besides that, I don't really know their purpose. Naruto answered to the best of his ability. Hiruzen nodded his head before saying, that's a good basic answer, and while yes, it's usually known to be used by those people, Naruto, there are others that train extensively to gain the aptitude to accomplish such a task for the benefits it brings. He stopped to see that Naruto, while not looking at him, was still paying close attention to every word he said. Hiruzen said, going into lecture mode, the reason why people train for it is because it helps organize your mind. By doing this, your memory and processing parts of your brain increase. As you know, we, the shinobi populace, use about 30 to 40% of our brains. There are some that use more, and they are what we consider to be the geniuses. I for one use 55% of my brain at any given time. I think you use more, but I wouldn't be able to tell without testing. By organizing your mind through you use up even higher. By this point Naruto had CED his head to turn and was paying undivided attention to what his sensei was saying. But besides that, when one has access to one's mindscape, they can build a defense around their minds to prevent intruders like the Yamanaka and Uchiha clans. Also, if it's strong enough, it can keep the user from being affected by genjutsu. There are other functions, but I was never one to go too deep in that subject. Hiruzen finished. Thank you for the answer, but what about my other question? Naruto asked. I was getting to it, Naruto-kun, calm down. The answer to the other question is the true purposes of the enlightenment exercise. It was meant to show you all that you could do, but it was probably too much for your young mind to handle. The second thing that this control exercise gives you is the gift of having better control over your chakra at a subconscious level. Hiruzen said, knowing the benefit to this. One last question, then I'm done for a while. Why am I so tired right now? Naruto asked. You used up a lot of chakra doing the enlightenment jutsu. You probably just need a chakra boost, which I will give you after I give you a once-over to make sure that nothing went wrong. Hiruzen ate as he saw Naruto twitch from the information that he could have been severely hurt from doing the chakra exercise. How badly could I have been hurt, sensei? The boy's attention was directed completely on the danger part as he asked in a tone that reminded Hiruzen of his dead wife right before she kicked his ass. Oh, nothing too badly. You might have gone into a coma for a while or lost function of your body for a month or two, or forever. Nothing too bad. Hiruzen said. What little chakra Naruto had left flared up in anger at this news. I could have died doing this and you still wanted me to finish it. Why in all of the 9 hells would you allow this? Naruto's anger was getting the better of him as he was yelling toward the end of his statement. I for one knew and believed that you could do it. And it was the best way to have you understand your chakra. That's what the jutsu was for. It was you being connected with your chakra on a cellular level. There are some stories where a few people in the Senju, the Uchiha, and the Uzumaki clans could go on a deeper level, but they were mainly from the Senju clan. Hiruzen told Naruto, and then on an afterthought said, though there were some outside of those clans that could do it too. Then why can't I remember all of it? Quested Naruto, annoyed that he couldn't recall most of it. Hiruzen took a second before he said, like I sighed earlier, you were probably too young to take the strain of seeing that and then retaining it. But you subconsciously remember it, and that is what matters. Hiruzen said. But before he could continue, Naruto asked, why would that even matter? The old man sent a small glare at his student. Even if he couldn't see it, it matters because you will be able to use your chakra like never before. Your jutsu will be easier to use because of this. While you still need to train to control chakra and gain larger stores of it, you have already surpassed what I was planning for you to be at for at least a few years. I planned for you to have at least Shunin level in both control and capacity, which you have passed. You now have the control of an intermediate genjutsu user, which will help with that training. And you have the capacity of a mid-level jonin. Even when he was as tired as he was, he couldn't help but smile at how proud his teacher sounded. He waited patiently as his surrogate grandfather LKED to him and started to check over him. Seems like your reaction time still works, albeit slow from being tired, he said after hitting reaction points, then went on to the torso and used a medical jutsu check the vital organs. Internally everything seems fine. Then he went up to the head with the jutsu still active and started with the skull, then the ears and nose, then finally went to the eyes. Seems like the eyes are using more chakra than they should. That only happens when a person activates a dojutsu. Naruto, can you open up your eyes for me? Hiruzen asks with seriousness in his voice. Sure thing. But what's wrong? Naruto questions, trying to get out of the work because he was too tired. Nothing from what I can tell. It's just that your eyes are using a several times the amount of chakra as they should, answered Hiruzen. Without asking any more questions, Naruto opened his eyes to see a world of black and white. As he looked around, he saw that Hiruzen had a blue-colored body, which he had guessed was his chakra, and as he looked up he saw a large dome over the village with different kanji on 4 different sides. As he was looking with fascination at the Hiruzen almost had a heart attack from seeing the legendary eyes in his student, but it wasn't that he had the eyes, it was the fact that he couldn't see any emotion in his student's eyes that truly frightened him. Hey Suru, sensei, what's the dome over the village? That cleared it up. His student had the Rinnegan, said to be able to see chakra like the Sharingan. He coughed into his hand to calm himself down. I think you have a very powerful dojutsu that goes by the name of Rinnegan, Naruto my boy. Naruto was stunned as he had heard of the Rinnegan, how it was used by the Rakuto Sennin to make modern ninja. He made jutsu for shinobi to be use, and how he defeated the beast known as the Jubi. What? How is that possible? Naruto asked in shock. Well, it is said that the gods grant the Rinnegan onto people who either save or destroy the world, but me personally I think it's a genetic trait that doesn't manifest in everyone. Someone might activate it every few centuries, and even then they might not even know about it. Hiruzen finished his thoughts on where it came from. No, I meant how did I get it? Naruto asked again, both annoyed at his teacher for not understanding the question he asked, and a weird mix of giddy and curiosity about the story the very same man just got through telling. Without missing a beat, Hiruzen said, my best guess is that when you did the chakra exercises, that it activated it somehow. Try taking away a little of the chakra from your eyes gradually to see what happens. If we're lucky, you will be able to deactivate them so that no one will see them. Okay, replied Naruto. As Naruto was slowly taking away chakra from his eyes, the pupil grew smaller, and he noticed that he could see color again. Yes, I can see in color again. Naruto cheered but stopped when Hiruzen said, but your eyes are still the same, the only difference is the pupil grew smaller. Keep taking more chakra away. Naruto sighed in defeat before continuing again. Naruto started removing chakra even more. Finally the Rinnegan deactivated. Your eyes have lost the Rinnegan, Naruto. Are there any side effects you can tell? Hiruzen asked to make sure if there were, that he could deal with them accordingly. No, there aren't really any problems. It's just that my eyes don't feel right anymore, like I'm missing something. But besides that, no, there aren't any other noticeable effects. Naruto answered as best as he could. Okay, I only want you to have the Rinnegan active when you're training with me, or you know you're alone for now, at least till we know you can protect yourself. If the village were to find out about this, it could spread all over the elemental nations. That would be bad for you and Konoha. Okay, if you think it's for the best, Naruto said, a little disappointed that he would have to keep feeling uncomfortable. He may have other bloodlines that he doesn't know about. Hiruzen thought about how to go about safely finding out. I could always wipe the memory of whoever performed the tests. But who? I could go to someone like the captain of the Konoha Medic Corps. He has enough knowledge and experience to pull it off, and he's not strong enough to even think about as a threat if I need to erase his memory. But the best option would be to GH. It would be too hard to clear her of the memory. It would be better if Naruto had other bonds to the village. Plus if he wants to have any medical training down the road she would be the best teacher. And if it turned out that Naruto had the Senju bloodline she would support him in the years to come. Satisfied with his plan he turns to Naruto and says, "Naruto, tomorrow I want you to meet me at the hospital at 6 a.m. sharp. I want to see if you have any other bloodlines that need to be trained when and if they activate." Hiruzen finished knowing what the young child was going to ask. "Okay, but why would you think I had other bloodlines?" Naruto asked. Hiruzen looked at Naruto and thought, "I should have known that wouldn't be enough." Hiruzen looked thoughtful before saying, "What many people don't know is that Kushina's mother was born from the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, and his wife the princess and heir to Uzumaki. That's why we should check to see if you have the Senju bloodline." Hiruzen clarified. Naruto nodded in understanding. "Now I know you want to keep going to today but you need sleep. I need to get your training schedule ready," the old monkey told Naruto. After a minute's passed before Naruto said, "I may need you to take me back home." "Ha ha ha, that's perfectly alright," said Hiruzen said as he got the young Uzumaki situated on his back. "Hold on," he said warmly as he took off at a fast pace. Path to Rebirth. As the duo was coming closer to the Kuren Hokage's estate, Hiruzen slowed down and looked on his back to see Naruto asleep and smiled. When he got to the door and knocked, almost within seconds the door opened and on the other side was Kushina. As she looks at who was at the front door she smiled when she saw it was the third Hokage. "Hello you old monkey, what are you doing here and where's Naruto-chan?" she questioned the older man of the two. Hiruzen looks on with confusion at her worried attitude. "He's right here behind me, on my back. Truthfully he fell asleep and I didn't have the heart to wake him up, so I decided to carry him back," said Hiruzen with a quickly made half-truth. "That's good. I thought he was hurt or something." Kushina then hesitated for a second deciding if she should ask her question, before she made up her mind. "Sarutobi-sama, I'd like for you to train Naruto in the shinobi way," she said as she bowed to him. Now if he was confused before he was downright bewildered and had a WTF look on his face, but he recovered quickly. "I wouldn't mind doing that at all, he is an amazing kid." Hiruzen started seeing an opportunity when one smack him in the face like a male Nara with a frying pan, "but I have to know why Minato won't train him or you for that matter. From what I've seen it is Minato who has really taken over Narumi's training, leaving you open to train Naruto." Kushina gained a look of hopelessness and shame. "I want to. But of all the things I know are really meant for a Jinchuriki, or someone of an older age. There would be very few jutsu that I could teach him now, and I want to wait for Fuinjutsu so that I can teach them both. I've been a demon vessel since I was a child and all the things I've learned are for really heavy frontal assault teams. Then after that I really couldn't train him anymore till he awakens his bloodline, and that's only if he does, and I want to wait for him to get a little older before teaching him seals and swordplay," she said sadly. "And the only reason I'm not training him in the basics is because Minato is hell-bent on believing that Narumi is the child of the prophecy. So he won't let me go too far away from her in case something bad happens with the seal-holding Kyubbi. While he trains her to use the Kyubbi, which won't be for a few more years." She continued talking but with an edge of intense anger bordering on the level of hatred as she spoke her husband's name. "I understand now, thank you, but why me?" Hiruzen said, feeling happy on the inside that at least the boy's mother was watching out for him. What he was expecting was not the answer that Kushina had in mind to make. "Why wouldn't I want you to train him? You're one of the best shinobi in history. Besides that, I'm trying to be fair with my children." At his questioning look she continued with, "What? When one of my children gets a Hokage to train them, then I will try my best so that the other one sure as hell gets a Hokage to teach them too," she said with happiness in her voice as she looked at Naruto. "But why you? Well, I could have gone to any other jonin in the village, but that would get back to Minato and I doubt he would let it continue. You have been seeing my son on an almost daily basis anyway with his lessons, so Minato won't find anything wrong with him going to you if you did train him." Kushina finished, and for one of the few times since he knew her, Hiruzen was reminded that she could be just as deceitful as him or Danzo when it came down to it. "Okay, I promise to train the child as I see fit. There are only two conditions. One, that you don't tell Minato about this, and the second is that I ask you train your son in Fuinjutsu whether or not you think he's ready." The man said, knowing that he had just gotten himself a full-time student. That is a fair deal, Hokage-sama. But what should I teach him for seals? She asked. Anything you think he is capable of at this time. The only thing I ask is that you do not hold back on him when teaching him seals. Hiruzen clarified. She nodded her head. Thank you. I'll take him from you now. He should be in his bed if he's this deep asleep, she said as she took hold of Naruto and held him closely to herself. You're welcome. Have a good night to the both of you, he said before leaving. Kushina closed the door quietly so not to wake Naruto as she carried him to his room. As Kushina laid Naruto down on his bed, she said, "No matter what happens, Naruto-kun, I will always be there for you." She finished this by kissing him on the forehead. As she left to go to bed herself, Naruto opened his eyes and smiled before going back to sleep. Path to Rebirth. Later that night, Hiruzen could be found making his way to the Senju clan compound. Currently the compound that used to have hundreds of the clan had only 2 remaining occupants. One was Tsunade Senju, the granddaughter of Hashirama and Mito, and Shizune Kato, Tsunade's only student. As he made it to the clan's gate, he sent a pulse of Akra into a seal that would alert someone in the house that there was someone outside. The seal had been changed by Kushina a few weeks after being left out of the hospital to set it to Shizune's bed room so she would be able to get the door without her master waking up. She was regretting that now. What kind of person come to a house in the middle of the night? She said even though she knew her and her master were still registered ninja of the village. Once she got to the door, she looked out the peephole to see who it was. When she found out it was Hiruzen, she quickly made herself presentable before opening up the door. "Hiruzen-sama, what can I do for you tonight?" she asked respectfully. "Ah, Shizune-chan, it's good to see you, but I need to talk to Tsunade tonight," he answered kindly. "Oh, okay, that will take a while. Come in and let me get you some tea before I go get Tsunade," Shizune offered. "That would be fine, thank you," he said as he sat down in the large living room of the main house of the compound. Shizune went to the kitchen and made some tea and then came back with 3 cups filled with the hot beverage. "Here's the tea. Relax while I go get Tsunade for you, Sarutobi." More time passed as Hiruzen listened to Shizune try to wake up Tsunade, then hearing a loud crash followed by cursing that would make a sailor red in the face. It all went quiet as what he assumed Shizune told her who was there. A few minutes of waiting for Tsunade to no doubt get dressed, before he saw her walking down the hallway with Shizune following behind her. As Tsunade came into the room, she was wearing a loose-fitting robe and sat down. "Hiruzen could see hot. Can I do for you this late at night, sensei?" she asked with blurry eyes. "There may be someone of your clan left, Tsunade," Hiruzen said, not beating around the bush. Tsunade stopped cold. She knew the difference between her sensei saying clan compared to family. As the society grew and ninja clans evolved, a lot more dependence was put on blood ties more than family and friend ties, the kind of concept that meant for the greater good of the clan. "Who are they?" was her simple question. "He is the great-grandchild of Hashirama and he may have your bloodline. The reason I came to you is to see if you will verify this and give him a checkup," he said. Tsunade, who had her head turned, whipped it around at the news that a member of her dead clan could be alive but hurt. "What's wrong with them?" "Nothing. It's just that I was teaching them something that caused some unforeseen side effects that happened, so I wanted a professional opinion on his safety. I chose you because you might be family and because I know how much family means to you," Hiruzen said. Tsunade sat there in silence as her bangs covered her eyes. Then an aura filled the room as she said, "Sensei, if they are hurt you won't make it out of this alive." Hiruzen couldn't help but gulp and said, "He seemed fine this afternoon. I told him to meet me at the hospital at 6 tomorrow to have a checkup." "Okay, that's good enough for now. So who is the kid that could be my family?" she asked. "Oh, I completely forgot to tell you, his name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Though he likes his name without the Namikaze part in it," Hiruzen clarified. The only thing that happened next was that both Tsunade and Shizune had gained shocked looks on their faces. Path to Rebirth. The next morning Naruto was the second one up in the house at 5, his father had left at 4 a.m. while his mother and sister were still asleep. He got dressed in his usual training outfit before walking to the bathroom to make sure everything was in place. As he was checking himself, Naruto looked up into the mirror to see the Rinnegan looking back at him in his reflection. Legend says that these eyes are given to those who will either destroy the world or lead it to peace and salvation. What if I did both to this worthless world and started over? After this thought, Naruto left T. He housed to meet Hiruzen at the hospital. It took him 15 minutes to reach the hospital and found his sensei outside waiting for him. Good morning Naruto-chan, are you ready to take the health examination? Hiruzen asked. I thought that I was only getting a blood screening done to see if I have any other bloodlines. Naruto asked, not wanting to have to get a medical checkup if he didn't have to when he could be training. Hiruzen sighed. While I did a checkup on you yesterday, I'm not a real medic. I made an appointment to see if I missed anything, he answered. Naruto nodded his head, still not liking it, but knew Hiruzen could have missed something. Now come along Naruto, we need to sign in and be ready, Hiruzen ordered. Naruto followed behind him while thinking about what he would be learning in just a few days' time at the most. Path to rebirth. As the duo arrived at the door that was registered to them, Naruto asked, so who will my doctor be? Hiruzen-sensei. Oh, she is one of the best if not the best medical shinobi in the world, but some people don't like her because of that in her family. Her name is Tsunade Senju and she was once one of my students. Why do you ask? Hiruzen replied. Oh, it's nothing. Just wanted to know. But as long as she's good, I don't think it should matter that she's a female or male as long as she earned her title, Naruto answered. Unbeknownst to either of them, both women were listening in onto the conversation. Both women looked at each other and thought the same thing. That's different, he doesn't think women are weak. That's a mature thing to say, Naruto, Hiruzen said with pride. Now let's go in so we aren't late, Hiruzen commanded. Naruto nodded and went to the door before opening it to see two beautiful women waiting for them in the room. One of them, that he could tell, was Tsunade from the history books he had read. She looked to be in her early 30s, with pale golden blonde hair that were tied in twin pigtails that went down to the bottom of her shoulder blades. She had pale creamy-colored skin and brown whiskey-colored eyes. She had one of the largest busts Naruto had ever seen, definitely bigger than a DD cup, he thought. She had a thin waist that flared out to nice hips and a perfect-looking ass. She wore a Dr. Lad coat with an ID badge clipped onto her pocket. Under that she had on a grass-green robe, and underneath she wears a gray kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held closed by a broad, dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants. Her blouse is closed quite low, revealing her sizable cleavage. She wears open-toed sandals with high heels and polish on both her fingernails and toenails. She wears very little makeup beside a soft pink lipstick. And the most eye-catching item on her is the first Hokage's necklace in clear view on her chest. The other woman in the room looked to be in her late 20s, around 28. She, like her master, had a pale skin tone and wore a doctor-issued coat. But that is where the similarities ended. She has shoulder-length black hair with bangs and onyx-colored eyes. Underneath she is wearing a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, and open-toed sandals with low heels. Last but not least, she had a pin in her hair to keep it up. Physically she was very attractive in a cute type of way. She was fit like all other professional kunoichi in the village. She had a C-cup bust with a nice waist and a good ass. Naruto had observed this all in about 30 seconds, but this was noticed by the others in the room. Tsunade, thinking that the boy was a pervert, asked with anger in her voice, "What do you think you're looking at, you little gaki?" Naruto, either not noticing the danger or not caring, said honestly, "I was looking at the two beautiful and different women that would be examining me today, Tsunade-sama." This had the unattended effect of causing the two women to blush scarlet from the first honest compliment they had received from a man, even if he was young, in a long time. Hiruzen saw this and laughed in his head, thinking about if Jiraiya had only acted like that he might have gotten with Tsunade or any other women he wanted for that matter. Why, thank you Naru-kun for saying that. My name is Shizune and I'm Lady Tsunade's apprentice in the medical arts, Shizune said, taking the hint that he didn't know her name by the look he had given her. Yes, well, we need to get you checked out to make sure Sensei didn't miss anything, Tsunade said in a shy tone of voice, because she hadn't had a man be that nice to her or call her beautiful. Most of the time men just stared at her and called her sexy, not beautiful. Come over to the examination bed and lay down, Tsunade said. After 45 minutes of thorough examination, Tsunade turned to Hiruzen while Shizune was still facing Naruto to take the blood sample needed to take the test. As Tsunade looked at the Sarutobi clan head, she started talking, but the way she was speaking, it was meant to be aimed at both of them. Well, everything is in perfect condition for his age. Actually, it looks like he might have unlocked his Uzumaki bloodline already with how healthy he is and how little scar tissue he has, she said. Tsunade, I have taken the appropriate amount of blood for testing, Shizune informed her master and mother figure. Thank you, Shizune, we will take it down to the processing lab in a second, she said. How long do you think the blood test should take to be done? Hiruzen asked. Tsunade replied, it should take only an hour. Hiruzen looked and said, good. I hope I don't have to say this, but don't let anybody see the results. When they are done, bring them to me directly. I will be at my personal training ground then. The third Hokage commanded. Yes sir, Sen's happy voice. Once the two males had left the room, Tsunade and Shizune started to clean up their mess from the examination when Tsunade turned to face her student and said, if only I was a few years younger and he was a few older, I would jump him and make him mine. Shizune blushed red and was quiet for a time till she calmed down before saying, you can try, but as soon as he's old enough, I'm making him mine. As she said this, both women glared at each other. Tsunade gained a perverted grin on her face and said, well, we could always share him. And, like that, Shizune passed out from blood loss and Tsunade laughed out loud before she thought, well, that wouldn't be that bad of an idea. Path to rebirth. They walked out of the hospital with Hiruzen leading the way to his personal training ground. Now Naruto, I'm going to teach you Shunshin no Jutsu. It's a supplementary jutsu meant to be used by ninja that need to get from one place to another in a quick amount of time. Unlike what the civilians think, it's not a teleportation technique like your father's Hiraishin jutsu is. Though there is a member of the Uchiha clan by the name of Shisui Uchiha that has mastered this jutsu to a level where it makes it look like he can go up against your father in the speed department. Hiruzen walked to the other side of the clearing and said, now Naruto, I want you to activate your eyes so that they can see the chakra. He waited patiently till Naruto nodded, signaling that he was ready. In the next instant, Hiruzen was in front of Naruto and a little wind blew past him. What can you tell me about what I just did and what the jutsu does? As clear as possible, quizzed Hiruzen. From what I saw, you added a large amount of mostly yang-sided chakra to your whole body. More so around the legs, bones, eyes, and brain. If I was to guess, I would say the jutsu is a speed technique. You added chakra to your eyes and brain so that you will know your surrounding while moving that fast. The bones were reinforced because of your old age, most likely so that they wouldn't break, and the most chakra went to your legs so that they could move as fast as they did. That's great. A perfect answer. Now what else could you tell me about this jutsu? He asked to prompt Naruto further. Well, I would say that it's a constant growth jutsu. The more chakra used, the faster you go. If I was going to make the jutsu better, I would let chakra flow throughout the whole body so that everything is equal. But the only problem with that is you need a lot of chakra. Naruto finished his explanation. That's a good start. From now on, Naruto, I want you to think of everything you can do with a jutsu, how you can make it better, and what other jutsu you can make from it. Hiruzen stated. Now you are to practice with this jutsu for the next hour. Your test of the completion of the jutsu is you being able to use the jutsu correctly 3 times in a row. Also, I don't want you to just learn a jutsu and be able to do it, I want you to master it. There's a saying that a man that has practiced the use of a pebble can still kill a person that doesn't know how to use a kunai. Hiruzen told Naruto before saying, now true, a genin could beat a cage if there was given enough time, but it is very unlikely that will ever happen. What I want you to come out of TS with is a mixture of both mastering jutsu and knowing as many jutsu as possible to give you diversity. Okay Gigi, I will do that, Naruto said. The next thing Naruto did surprised him because he didn't expect a child to think this far ahead. Naruto just stood there for a while and, from what Hiruzen could sense, was putting different amounts of chakra into his body at different places. After a few minutes, Naruto looked at the other end of the clearing and disappeared from his spot and appeared on the far side of the clearing, almost running into a tree. The next thing Naruto knew, he was bent over with his hand on the tree for support, throwing up what food he ate the other day. Oh, sorry about not warning you. Most first-time users of that jutsu can't hold their stomach, but it gets better the more you use it. Hiruzen explained so Naruto would understand. Naruto could only glare at his sensei as he finally stopped throwing up and prepared to try the jutsu again. Path to rebirth. An hour later, Hiruzen called Naruto to him and asked, "Before we talk about the jutsu, we will do the test." Without any commands needed, Naruto left using the Shunshin jutsu, which he had gotten down to one-hand sign. He left in a blur that told of his destination. The next second, Naruto had already completed the test and had gone even farther by going a couple of miles out of the training grounds. Naruto appeared at the Inuzuka clan compound that was situated a little outside the village because of their dogs. Naruto saw Sume Inuzuka, who sniffed the air at his sudden appearance before whipping her head to him and glaring at him for being on her territory. Naruto took her glare before shrugging and flickering away. If he had stayed a little longer, he would have seen her shocked look at his dismiss sal of her before it turned to a look that clearly showed the challenge was accepted even if Naruto didn't know about it. He reappeared a little bit later in front of the Hokage. "Nice work, Naruto, and in a good amount of time," Hiruzen said. "How far did you go, by the way?" he asked. "I think I landed on Inuzuka land. I saw a woman there, she just glared at me before I left." Naruto replied with a curious voice as to why a woman did that. The old man slapped his head, knowing that would come back to bite them in the ass. Before he could say anything, Tsunade, followed by Shizune, walked into the field holding a scroll. While Shizune seemed normal, Tsunade was just barely holding in her shock. "Hello, Tsunade-hime, Shizune-chan," Naruto called, causing them both to blush at the suffixes he had used. Hiruzen chuckled before asking, "So Tsunade-hime, does he have any other bloodlines?" With that question, she handed him the scroll she had been carrying. Hiruzen was curious as to what was on the results that would have caused this kind of reaction. He then started reading it. "Dear Kami," was the only thing he could say, before he handed it to Naruto and asked, "Are you sure these results are right, Tsunade?" While Naruto and Shizune sat down to read the scroll, Tsunade answered, "Yes, I retested the blood quite a few times, and from what I can tell, it seems that he has the perfect mixture of all three clans in one. I don't know if he will even have any of the same abilities as those clans, but from what I was able to get from the brain scan I took during the exam, there's a 90% match when compared to the brain scans from those clans." While this was happening, Naruto and Shizune had shocked looks as they looked at the confirmation of Naruto having a mixture of the Senju, Uchiha, and Uzumaki clan bloodlines from the supposed Rakuto Sennin lines. Hiruzen sighed and said, "Naruto, you might as well show them." Both women look at Naruto as he closes his eyes and opens them to show the Rinnegan. Both of the women gasp as they see his eyes. Tsunade quickly rushes over to Naruto to see them up close while Shizune was already there staring into the emotionless orbs. "Is that what I think it is?" asked Tsunade, as Shizune was quietly fascinated with the way they looked. "Yes, Naruto awoken them the other day, which is why I wanted him brought in to see if he had anything else," he answered. "Tsunade, I was wondering if I could learn medical ninjutsu from you?" asked Naruto. It surprised the others around him that he would want to learn that art, so Shizune asked him why. "Well, and to learn everything that I can for one, but also I can see the usefulness of it." Tsunade gained a happy smile when she heard this. "I can get another apprentice that also wants to learn my favorite ninja skill. Not to mention, but in a few years Naruto is going to be one hell of a male specimen. I would love to, Naruto. It will give us a chance to get to know one another," she said. It had been nearly 4 in training with Hiruzen, and he would be turning 10 in the next few weeks. For the last 4 years Hiruzen had trained Naruto in everything he thought he would need, and with the help of the shadow clones, Naruto's progress went up by leaps and bounds. For the first year, Tsunade taught Naruto about anatomy, pressure, nerve, and blood points, bone and organ positions, biology, chemistry, about the brain and how it functions. When Naruto asked her why she was going into all of these subjects, she said, "I want you to know the body as best as you can so that when I teach you medical jutsu later you will understand." She had also started him on basic training, saying that she had plans for him to make his own taijutsu when they were done. Hiruzen for the first year had taught Naruto stealth, tracking, weapons handling and maintenance, kunai, shuriken, senbon, foraging and hunting, camping without leaving evidence, cooking, first aid. Also they've covered how to properly mold chakra, ninjutsu, genjutsu. How to disguise himself without the use of henge, how to make basic fuinjutsu, sealing scrolls and exploding tags. About 3 months into his training with Tsunade, Naruto had confided in his sensei that he wanted to get as strong as he possibly could. So Tsunade, wanting to help her students, she made a strict plan in both diet and exercise. For his diet, Naruto had a strict schedule in which he had to eat a wide variety of foods, controlling the times to eat and the types of food he should eat. For his exercise schedule, Tsunade had him do a specific regimen of training that would eventually change his muscles from red, white, and pink to only pink muscles for optimum affect. Tsunade explained, your body has a set amount of slow twitch fibers, white muscles, quick twitch fibers, red muscles, and the in-between, pink muscles. Fast twitch fibers are good for short, explosive movement, like jumping and sprinting, whereas slow twitch fibers are for low-intensity, repetitive movements, like walking. This supposed pink muscle does not truly exist but does enter areas that have a high amount of both white and red muscle that simulate the pink muscle, which has traits of both. But the human body has such an extremely low amount of it, and nothing you can do will change that. The only way around this without extensive genetic engineering is to train the white and red muscle that are everywhere in the body to give the properties of pink muscle. This would also have the effect of Naruto not having a bodybuilder build but having lean but powerful body with highly tuned reflexes. This was best for taijutsu usage and other physical activities. With Tsunade's plan, Naruto would physically be stronger without chakra than most low-level jonin at the age of 14. Besides the training Hiruzen put Naruto through, he also trained Naruto more in what he thought were 3 important things. One was to completely master his chakra control. This was also a big part of the training taught by Tsunade for the medical jutsu he would be learning in the future. The second was ninjutsu, which Naruto had just recently mastered one of 5 main elements, lightning, and was close to mastering the other 4. Fire release was the next strongest, followed closely by water, earth, and wind. Naruto had even started reading notes taken by the first Hokage on high would release jutsu and was planning to recreate them, but both Naruto and Hiruzen agreed that he should wait till after he had mastered the water and earth elements. Both Naruto and Hiruzen speculated that one of the Rinnegan many abilities was that it helped the learning process, but not with just jutsu like the Sharingan, but helped understand everything to a higher level. The last and most important thing Hiruzen could think of to teach Naruto was to not use chakra for everything. When Hiruzen started this training, Naruto had asked to be trained like the old shinobi. With this, Naruto was taught how to be a real assassin. It was quickly discovered that the Rinnegan had a sort of genetic memory that showed the user abilities that they were ready to use. By the end of the first year, Naruto had found 2. One was the ability to manipulate the elements almost flawlessly, and something deeper, but Naruto couldn't figure out what. The second was the ability to control gravity. All of Naruto's spare time was dedicated to training his Rinnegan. Hiruzen had taught Naruto more than just that, but when it became apparent that there were others that were better than him in the different shinobi arts, Naruto decided to branch out and see if there were other senseis that would help him. He asked Hiruzen who he should ask for help. 1 year into training, well, Naruto, Tsunade is already training you in medical jutsu and basic katas for different taijutsu styles to see what's best for you. For genjutsu she is not the best, so normally I would go ask the Uchiha clan for help. Right now though, I don't think that would be the smartest of ideas at the moment with the tension building up between them and the village. Hiruzen honestly told Naruto, but isn't there someone in that clan that is still loyal to Konoha? Naruto asked, having already heard about the Uchiha clan beginning plans of a rebellion against Konoha from his father and Hiruzen. Well, there are 2 that would fit with what you want as a teacher. One would be Itachi Uchiha. He is the current heir to the clan and he is closest in potential to you that has been born recently. The other is Shisui Uchiha. I told you about him when I taught you the Shunshin jutsu. He has the highest skills in genjutsu in the village. Rumors say that he can control others with his Sharingan, followed closely by Itachi. Hiruzen told Naruto, Why can't they train me in secret then? Better yet, they could train the Hokage's son publicly, and through that the Uchihas may assume that they are rising in power and position in the village again. Naruto said, trying to convince his oldest teacher to allow this. Well, having them train Naruto would make it look like they had gained some political power to the Uchihas again. The only problem is that when they find out that Naruto isn't that special in the eyes of his father, it could backfire. Hiruzen thought, Naruto, I think that I could make this happen. The only problem with this is that both Itachi and Shisui are on a mission directly from the elders of the village and the Hokage to be double agents spying on their clan to see if there is a chance that the rebellion could really happen. What I'm trying to say here, Naruto, is that if you're that determined to get them to train you, you will need to be a part of this mission and help them. Now you deserve a break from training. I want you to think about joining this mission. Hiruzen said, making sure that Naruto understood the importance of the mission he would be joined if he chose to. 30 minutes later, Naruto had come to a decision. He walked over to Hiruzen and said, I want to do it, even if it's dangerous. Hiruzen smiled and said, good. He sent out a pulse of chakra and 2 Anbu appeared in front of Hai M, kneeling down on the ground with their heads lowered down in respect to their leader. The one on Naruto's left asked, what is your command, Hokage-sama? The Hiruzen gained a look that both Naruto and the other elders jokingly called his Hokage face. It was the face of a man that had seen many deaths and one that had caused many just the same. I want you to fetch Itachi and Shisui for me and bring them both here as quickly as you possibly can without making it look suspicious. Also, I want you to bring Tsunade here, and if she complains, just tell her it's for Naruto-kun here. He said. Understanding what their leader wanted, both Anbu nodded their heads before blurring away. This gave Naruto room to ask, why did you ask for Tsunade to come here? Hiruzen Jiji. Smiling at the disrespectful name, Hiruzen said, for a few reasons actually. For one, the Senju and Uchiha clans have always butted heads against each other, and that also includes Tsunade. Another reason is that besides NG Tsunade, she is your main teacher when it comes to taijutsu and medical jutsu. Because of these reasons, she needs to be here if you are going to be getting 2 new teachers so that we can rearrange the schedule. Naruto nodded and got into a meditative position to wait for the 3 people that were asked to come. Not long afterward, Tsunade came rushing into the clearing and asked Hiruzen, what can I do to help Naruto-kun? Hiruzen-sensei. Both Naruto and Hiruzen turned their heads to her when she spoke, and Naruto said, I may be getting new senseis today, so Hiruzen said that you needed to be here. She nodded her head in understanding. Tsunade then walked over to Naruto and sat down beside him before she started a quiet conversation on a recent event. Not 5 minutes later, Itachi and Shisui came in to the clearing, bowing to the older Hokage and Tsunade. They both glanced at Naruto and gave him a respectful nod before devoting their attention to Hiruzen. What can we do for you, Hokage-sama? Itachi asked. It's not what I want from either of you, but what Naruto wants. Hiruzen answered. When the old man said this, both Uchiha clan members turned to Naruto and waited for the question to be asked. I wanted to know if you 2 would train me in genjutsu. To say they were surprised was an understatement. Itachi raised both his eyebrows, and while Shisui didn't show much reaction at the question, he did show surprise at Itachi. Itachi quickly calming his features after his friend started laughing at him, he asked, what do you want to learn from us? And for that matter, why do you want to get stronger? Shisui asked with a hard look. I want to learn genjutsu from you, but if you had anything else you wanted to teach me, I wouldn't decline it, Naruto answered Itachi before turning to Shisui and said. And I want to get stronger so that I'm able to accomplish my dreams of making a better world. Both of the Uchiha were shocked that such a young child had thoughts like that, but it quickly passed, and Shisui grew a big smile before laughing and said, that is quite the dream, little man, but how far are you willing to go? Everyone in the clearing turned to hear Naruto's answer for their own reasons. I will do anything to make my dreams reality, even if it means destroying the world to start over. Naruto answered in a strong yet cold voice. Shisui gained a somber but proud look in his eyes while he thought. He's finally another person that wants to make the world better. He has a strong conviction that's good for the future that is coming. He is probably the only one that will be able to fight Madara when the time comes. Itachi, though, knowing Naruto was one of the few that had potential that matched Hashirama and Madara, unlike what others thought when his sister came up. I will stand by your side Naruto no matter what. Tsunade thought with a smile while Hiruzen was having similar thoughts. Okay, I will train you Naruto. When he said this, Naruto gained a GE grin on his face while the others were slightly surprised he accepted so quickly, but I have one condition. I want you to achieve your dream no matter the cost. Naruto couldn't pass up an opportunity. Ity like this, so he agreed, then turned to Itachi for his answer. I will train you when I can, but since you want to learn everything about genjutsu you really only need Shisui. I'm guessing that he will be a cover for our mission. Sarutobi-sama. As Itachi asked this, Shisui turned to face his superior for an answer too. Yes, this will be a part of your cover for your mission, and hopefully the Uchiha will back down when they see that they have some influence over the Hokage's son. Hiruzen said, getting a nod from both boys. Before anything else could be said, Shisui hugged Naruto to himself while he burst out saying, I can finally have a little brother like you Itachi. Tsunade had a smile on her face at the cute moment while thinking, Naruto looks so cute like that. She blushed at this, but no one saw it. Itachi couldn't help but chuckle at the scene before him with Hiruzen as Naruto tried to get free from Shisui but couldn't. But eventually everything calmed down and Naruto was left to pout as Hiruzen said, there is something you need to know if you truly plan on teaching him. Naruto has a bloodline, but not just any. He has a mixture of the Senju, Uchiha, and Uzumaki bloodlines. As he said this, Naruto activated his eyes for all to see. When he did this, Tsunade though, I don't know why people say that the Sharingan is amazing to look at. Naruto's eyes are much more beautiful to see. While both were shocked by this news, they took it in stride as Shisui said with a happy smile, that just means he really could be my brother. That means we could also train him in the Sharingan's abilities if he ever activates them. Itachi said. The rest of the day went by as Naruto's new and old senseis started to plan for the future and to discuss what Naruto already knew. Second year of training. The second year of Naruto's training went like the first: training, and more training. Shisui and Itachi, while they were prodigies in what they did, what made them special in Hiruzen's opinion was the fact that they were also really good teachers. They taught in a very straightforward way. When Itachi was away, which was a lot of the time because of missions both his clan and the village gave him, Shisui would teach him about genjutsu. When it got to the point that Naruto had mastered set genjutsu, Shisui started teaching him what he called yin genjutsu, a type of illusion that didn't do one thing like cause pain or stop the use of sight but used all the senses to attack the opponent. This form relied on two major things, one being the user's imagination and the other user's understanding of the mind. When just Itachi was there, he would teach Naruto a little of everything, but mostly it was the Uchiha clan taijutsu style, which was made to put down the opponent by predicting their movements and acting accordingly. When they were both there, they trained Naruto in the Sharingan, which he had activated a month into training, by slowly making him master each tomo before moving to the next. By the end of the year, Naruto had a fully mature Sharingan with strength that equaled the Mangekyo Sharingan. Tsunade had finally started to teach him more advanced taijutsu now that most of the basic conditioning was over. Because Tsunade wanted Naruto to make a style of his own, she was teaching him the Senju style. Unlike the Uchiha taijutsu, which she was mad at Itachi for teaching Naruto in the first place, it is meant for the user to make their own variation after mastering the basics. Tsunade expanded that her clan style was more of a juggernaut style in the way that the clan used their monstrous strength to decimate their opponents by using all their limbs. She went on to explain that her style used her medical knowledge to her advantage. During the second year of training, Tsunade was satisfied with Naruto's understanding of the body and medical science. Because of this, she started his training with Iryojutsu by using dying animals for test subjects. While Tsunade taught Naruto everything she knew about Iryojutsu and how to use the human body to one's advantage, Shizune taught Naruto about poisons and spy infiltration. Hiruzen mainly taught Naruto more about ninjutsu. By the end of the second year, Naruto had mastered the basic 5 elements to the point of needing no hand seal and was working on wood release jutsu. Hiruzen had also decided to train Naruto as a hunter nin for the year. For this, Naruto had a higher deal of tracking and assassination training than the year before. One lesson that a hunter nin is taught is to use everything to their advantage. Naruto was tasked to completely master the skills he was taught the year before by Hiruzen. When they had a rarer break, Hiruzen would also show Naruto how to train his chakra sensor ability. Naruto was coming along with training for the Rinnegan quite nicely. He had uncovered two more abilities. One was the ability to observe, Through further practice Naruto discovered he could invade the mind of others and take all the knowledge the victim has by touching them. It was easier to do this by touching the head. He also had an easier time if the victim is dead to take the knowledge. He liked to call this his human path. The second ability he could use was having a basic control over his form through the additions of mechanical parts, from the experimenting Naruto had conducted with Tsunade. He didn't grow the mechanical part more like they appeared and acted like they were always there to begin with, but instead of having blood pump through it was chakra. The more he understood how machines work, the more he could change his form. Naruto also found that the more control over his chakra he had, the stronger he became. He called this his Asura path. Naruto so kept training in his other Rinnegan skills, making great progress in the gravity control. End of the second year, start of the third. As the second year of training came to an end, Hiruzen decided it was time for Naruto to start his training with his mother. So one day when Tsunade was done training Naruto, Hiruzen called them inside a house Naruto made out of trees to talk over tea. As Everio sat down, Tsunade was busy reading over some note Naruto had made on a medical case at the hospital, while Naruto was having a very relaxing break listening to the wind blow through the trees. Hiruzen had finally allowed everything to calm down before he started to talk. Tomorrow I am going over to talk to your mother about training you in Kenjutsu and Fuinjutsu. This is the first time you will be trained by anyone outside your little group of teachers, so I want you to try your best, okay Naruto? It had been so long since either of the people across from him had thought about that fact that they both looked slightly confused. It took them a second before Naruto said, "Do I have to learn from my Ka-san? I want to learn all that I can, but if I'm learning with my sister I don't know how I can show without her getting too bratty and complaining to Minato-san." Tsunade nodded her head at this because she had been over to Naruto's house for one of the twins' birthdays and saw how whiny she was to her parents. After listening to Naruto and Hiruzen shoot the argument back and forth, she said, "If it's that much of a problem, I still have some scrolls in my clan library from my grandmother. Naruto can learn from them if he has so much trouble dealing with his family." After she said this, Naruto smiled at her and got close to her while Hiruzen was looking away to say, "Thanks, but I don't think he is going to budge at all." When he was that close to her, she blushed and smiled back. Hiruzen turned his head to his two students and said, "No, even with the scrolls in Naruto's NCED learning curve, he needs a master to teach him all the ins and outs in Fuinjutsu. And there is no one better to teach him seal other than Kushina, who by the way is better than Minato at them." Students conceded to Hiruzen's point and nodded their heads. They sat there in silence before Naruto said, "I will tell Ka-san you're coming over tomorrow." "Thank you Naruto-kun," Hiruzen replied. Naruto uncrossed his legs before standing up and saying, "I think that it's a day I'm going home." "Have a nice night Hiruzen-sensei, Tsunade-sensei." With that, Naruto turned around before sliding the screen door open and leaving. Tsunade left a few minutes later saying she had some last-minute hospital work to do. As Hiruzen sat there all alone, he couldn't help feeling like soon everything would be done for him. Path to Rebirth. Naruto arrived home about 10 minutes later. He quickly slipped out of his shoes before walking farther into the house to the kitchen, where he knew his mother would be making dinner for his family. As he turned the corner, he came upon the sight of Kushina Uzumaki making ramen again like she did almost every day because Narumi and Minato loved it so much. Sensing Naruto's presence in the room, she turns her head toward the doorway and smiles when she sees that it's Naruto. "How are you doing, Sochi? How was your training with Hiruzen Gigi today?" One of the things that the mother and son shared was the knowledge that Naruto was being trained by Hiruzen. It helped their relationship because she kept it from Minato instead of telling him like most in the village would. This had the effect of Naruto trusting her more than anyone else in the whole village outside of his teachers. Naruto looks at her and gives her a genuine smile before saying in a calm, collected voice, "I'm fine Ka-san, I'm just a little tired from today. The training went well, but Hiruzen Gigi wants to talk to you tomorrow. He must be coming over to ask me to start Naruto's training in Fuinjutsu, she thought as she nodded in acknowledgement while she continued to make dinner. Okay, thanks for telling me, Sochi. The kitchen will be free for you in about 15 minutes, so if you want to wash up, go ahead. Got it, Ka-san. And with that, Naruto left the room. Walking towards the hot spring in the backyard, Naruto heard Narumi come into the house with two of her friends. One was Hinata Hyuga, and the other was Ino Yamanaka. The last thing he heard was Narumi asking Kushina, "Hey Ka-san, can Ino and Hinata stay over for dinner?" After relaxing in the hot spring for a time, Naruto gets out, gets dressed, and goes back inside to make his dinner. After a while, Naruto is sitting at the table where everyone else is eating ramen and talking happily. As he sits down, he hears the tail end of Ino's conversation. "I just don't understand why we can't go to the academy." Minato looks up from his ramen as he hears this. "That's because too many of our shinobi were dying, so I decided to push back the entrance age to 10 and push back the graduation age to 16. That's only one of a few things I did to change the academy. I also upped the learning material so that the graduating class actually knows something instead of history when they go out into the real world. I also did other things, but they are a bit more on the economic side of things." "Oh, that does make sense, and I don't want to die young. Too many guys to date." As she said this, three of the females in the room glanced to Naruto, although neither he nor Minato notices anything at all. Naruto, the young opportunist, he has decided to start up a conversation. "Ino, Hinata, you're from shinobi clans, right?" Both startled that Naruto started a conversation nod their heads, looking at him to continue the topic at hand. "I was wondering what your clans have that make them special?" asked Naruto in a way that everyone at the table thought that he was truly interested in what the two young girls had to say, but Kushina knew that he had other motives for bringing this up. The two girls look at each other to see who wanted to go first. Surprisingly, Hinata was the one that went first by saying, "My clan has the Dojutsu Kekkei Genkei Byakugan. It has a 360-degree vision, lets my clan see through solid object, and this ability lets us see the chakra pathways in the human body. The only downside is that the clan has to have tremendous control over our chakra to use any of our jutsu or our famous taijutsu." Most of the people around the table were surprised that she had said so much on what some would consider land secrets, but she was of the mind that no one at the table could even use the bloodline. What good would a little information do? Ino, not wanting to be outdone in front of a cute boy like Naruto, dead to tell about her clan even though her father had told her not to. "The Yamanaka clan are mind walkers," she said with as much pride as her 8-year-old self could muster. She lost this pride and the others at the table looked at her blankly. She blushed and went on to say, "Well, while my clan doesn't have a bloodline like Hinata or the Uchiha clan, we have an affinity for mind-based ninjutsu. My family has a lot of scrolls on them too, but Tsunade won't let me see any of them." She finished with a pout. As talk about other shinobi-related issues, Naruto was thinking, the Hyuga no WL edge on chakra control could be useful, but at this point it would be useful for others that needed training in that field, but their taijutsu style would be useful, and so would any notes they may have on the chakra system. The only thing I could want from the Yamanaka clan would be any knowledge on the mindscape and how to attack other people's minds. And with that, Naruto made plans to steal the needed material. Path to rebirth. The next day around 11, Hiruzen arrived to talk to Kushina about Naruto being taught Fuinjutsu and the Uzumaki clan Tai and Kenjutsu styles. After a short discussion, Kushina quickly agreed to start teaching Naruto the next day along with his sister in Fuinjutsu. Kushina also agreed to train Naruto in Tai and Kenjutsu because Narumi was learning more from experts in the village or her father than Kushina could teach her. That was the start of the 3rd year. Kushina did as she said she would and taught Naruto Fuinjutsu along with his sister. About 6 months into the training, it became apparent that while Narumi was good at making seals, she was just outclassed by Naruto in every turn. It got so bad that Narumi quit because she didn't want to be upstaged by her brother. From then on, Kushina didn't have to hold back anymore on Naruto when teaching him seals. The way she taught him was letting him do his own thing before looking at the finished seal and correcting any errors. By the end of the year, Naruto had made it to a high intermediate level but still had a ways to go before being called a master. Kushina also wanted to pass on the clan styles. But with Narumi following her father more than her, Kushina put all of her attention on Naruto when he wasn't with his other teachers. The Uzumaki Tai and Kenjutsu styles were based on how water moved, specifically in spirals. The styles work on spinning and acquiring momentum to attack others. There are some people that equate it to the Hyuga Taijutsu, and they would be partly right, but unlike the Hyuga style that focuses more on looks and has many useless steps, the Uzumaki style never wastes a step. The main advantage of the Uzumaki way of fighting is that it is meant to take on many opponents at once. Tsunade had continued to train Naruto in Iryojutsu to the point that he was helping out in the hospital part-time, through which Tsunade was hoping to have him gain experience. While his Aling sessions were going great, his taijutsu training was taking a different turn than it usually did. Tsunade decided that this was the year that he would start making his own style. Naruto had decided to join the styles he knew or was learning into one greater fighting style. Naruto also asked to be taught Orochimaru's snake style for variation and the fourth Hokage's hummingbird style that Minato created by using Hiashi Hyuga help. Every now and then Tsunade would have Naruto participated in underground fighting rings for money. Itachi and Shisui were pretty much done teaching Naruto in the art of genjutsu, and because his Sharingan was fully matured, the only thing they did to help him was spar with him to help advance his skills. When they were relaxing, they would discuss ideas for new stronger genjutsu ideas. They help him understand how to enter minds like the Yamanaka clan with his eyes. They did teach him one jutsu that was forbidden in the clan because it took away the eyesight of anyone that used it. From what Itachi said, only one of both Senju and Uchiha blood could use it to its fullest. It was called Izanagi, and it basically turned illusions into reality. The first time Naruto used it, he felt two different things. One was a very dull pain in the back of his mind, and the other was the usage of his yin and yang chakra in high quantities. This helped him identify the other ability of his diva path, reality control. Hiruzen had Naruto do the equivalent of the Anbu Black Ops training for the third-year training. With Hiruzen's help, Naruto was able to recreate Y of the lost jutsu that the first Hokage, Hashirama Senju, had made. It was also during this year that Hiruzen had Naruto learn tactics and strategies, politics, along with increasing his knowledge of the history of the elemental nations so that he could see past the false history that the winners wrote to see the truth. Naruto discovered an ability this year that allowed him to control life and death. Through more testing of this ability, Naruto discovered that at first he had to summon a giant head that would use the power for him. It also made people more susceptible to his will. But the more he used it, the less he needed what he called the King Path. He called this power his Naraka Path. Fourth year. At the end of the third year, Naruto's teachers decided that Naruto should be left alone and take his training into his own hands. That's exactly what Naruto did, and with Hiruzen's permission, Naruto searched through the Hokage's library looking for jutsu that he could use. As he was looking, he found three powerful jutsu, one that he had found the night Hiruzen agreed to be his sensei, and the other was one of the few jutsu left in the village by Madara and Izuna Uchiha. The last one he had no idea where it came from. One was the Kuchiyos Edo Tensei made by the second Hokage Tobirama Senju. He made this technique for two reasons. One was to wipe the board clean with strong undead shinobi, while the other application was to take information from dead shinobi, be they friend or foe. The second one was Fushi Tensei, or the living corpse reincarnation technique. This was one of the many ways to escape the blindness that the Mangekyo Sharingan caused for the brothers. They had the idea that the Mangekyo Sharingan was a completely chakra-based bloodline like the yin part of the Uchiha bloodline. But during their experiments they came to learn that even transferring the soul does not transfer the eyes. These first two jutsu were known to be some of the few jutsu that Orochimaru had stolen before his treachery and following escape happened. From the one or two spies Jiraiya had in the Snake Sanin's circle, he had found the Orochimaru was in the process of improving them. The only benefit that Konoha had in this matter was that he had neither the knowledge in seals nor the human body to complete this right away. The last jutsu that Naruto had found was the Shiki Fujin. From the notes Naruto had read, it appeared to be a seal made by the Uzumaki to seal away just about anything into something else. It didn't take long for Naruto to realize that this was made to make Jinchuriki. The only downside to the jutsu was that the user lost their life after the Shinigami was finished with its job. These would be of great use to me in the future. And any of the negative side effects could easily be overcome with the Rinnegan abilities. The only one that would need serious training in would be the Fushi Tensai technique. While the only reason that the Shiki Fuji in is dangerous is because the Shinigami is needed to take the soul, but I could easily do that. I would also have to rework the seal for the Kuchiyos Edo Tensai to make it better, Naruto thought. With these scrolls in hand, Naruto left the library and started training for the last year. In ninjutsu, Naruto trained to finish mastering the wood-release jutsu as well as making other elemental jutsu. In taijutsu, Naruto was finishing his own personal style that combined the styles he had learned. While it relied heavily on the Uchiha, Senju, and Uzumaki styles, it was supplemented by the hummingbird and snake styles. All his genjutsu training consisted of the fourth year was trying to understand how to fool others' understanding of chakra so that his illusions would truly be unbeatable. Naruto's kenjutsu was basically the same as his taijutsu, but just with a sword. While these things took the forefront of Naruto's training, he took time to work on everything else he had learned as well as aling the clan knowledge from the Yamanaka and Hyuga clans he needed. It wasn't till the Yamanaka clan found out they had been robbed. This had caused a mandatory search of other clan libraries to see if anything was missing. Let's just say when it got out that the Hyuga were robbed and the one who did it wasn't caught, they went down in their standing in the village. The last 3 months of the year, Naruto was training in his Rinnegan abilities, making his mindscape and its defensives, and the scrolls he took from the Hokage's library. He found another ability when he and Hiruzen were talking about summons. A persistent idea got lodged in his head. Using ability similar to Izanagi in the respect of Onmyoten Jutsu, Naruto decided to summon something from his imagination while giving life to it. The next moment, Hiruzen and Naruto saw a giant serpent appear in front of them. The only things that showed that it wasn't a normal summon was that it was draining the chakra out of the area, and the other was that its eyes were the same as Naruto's. Naruto wanted to see the limitations of this power, so he kept summoning different animals. After a while, Naruto found that the more were summoned, the less of his soul was in his body. Like shadow clones, Naruto decided to name this ability his animal path. Naruto speculated that it would allow him to summon from multiple clans as well as make anything he wanted. As Naruto started making his mental defenses, he was glad that Itachi and Shisui had already trained his mental strength. He made it so that his mindscape was at the center of his mind, surrounded by 10 levels of defense. He decided to base his defenses on the Biju. The first level was a giant desert that went on as far as the eye could see and then kept going. There was a blazing sun in the sky along with a hot dry wind that was always blowing, and if one was to spend any amount of time in this level, they would see the occasional sandstorm that would rearrange the landscape. The defense in this level was the Ikibi, a giant tanuki made of sand, which resided in what distinctly looked like the remains of Suna. As it was a sand demon, as soon as someone set foot on the sand, they would be caught and attacked. It was given the ability to have total control over the air and sand. The second level was set in a forest that was so big the intruder wouldn't be able to tell the time of the day. It would remind most of the Forbidden Forest of Konoha because of its thickness and wildlife. The Nibi, a giant Bakeneko, could be found in the center of the forest. Aside from wild animals that would attack you if detected, once the Nibi found you, she would set the forest on fire and gain almost unbeatable power. She also had the ability to raise the dead of the intruder and have them attack. The third level was set in a large area of water that was copied after Water Country territory. The only difference is that there is no human life, only animal and plant life. The only way to get by this level like the others is to beat the Sandbi, a giant demonic turtle with a spiked shell, lobster-like tails and 2 human albeit turtle arms. This level is known for either its harsh storms or its deep fogs. The Sandbi controls all marine and can create smaller clones of itself to swim the oceans. The fourth level was situated around a large mountain chain of dormant volcanoes, covered with a large gathering of forests here and there, with many large cave systems that spread throughout the whole area. The major animal in the area are intelligent apes that are at least twice as big as a normal human. Their leader in the fourth level's primary defense in the Yonbi, a giant monkey with the build of a gorilla. Its main ability is to control and create lava and magma. Besides its main ability, it had full control of the earth and fire. The fifth level is a large valley filled with forests of autumn trees, surrounded on all sides by mountains with ice cover caps. There are a few waterfalls around the valley that form rivers that all eventually flow to the center of the valley and connect into a large hot spring lake. If one were to swim deep enough, they would find a nearly endless underground water cave system. The goby, a gigantic horse-dolphin hybrid, guards this level. It has the ability to control stream as well as fire and water. The sixth level is an endless cave system that is controlled by the rokubi, a giant six-tailed slug. It has three main abilities. One, it can control illusions that are hard to break if not impossible. The second one allows the slug to release many types of poison and acids into the surroundings. The last ability it has is that it can take large amounts of physical damage without any signs of losing. The seventh level was set in an area that was modeled after Takigakure. There were many mountain-sized trees that the Nanabi would live in on large islands with water flowing between them, and a thick layer of clouds that are always moving, either peaceful or dangerous storms. This level is guarded by the Nanabi, a giant kabutomushi with 6 wings and a single tail. The Nanabi had the ability to use dust release jutsu as well as control over all bugs and the ability to fly. The 8th level is modeled after the Valley of Clouds and Lightning and is guarded by the Hachibi, a giant octopus ox. The Hachibi had control over chakra, lightning, and has super strength. The 9th level is situated in the destroyed remains of Uzumaki. The only land mass is a content-size island with harsh tides around it, the few lakes on the island all having strong whirlpools flowing in them. The Kyubbi, a giant 9-tailed fox, resides in the remains of the old village. To make this level harder, Naruto put the past 2 Jinchuriki as extra protection in this level. One was Mito Uzumaki with all of her strengths and none of her weakness, and Kushina Uzumaki is the second guardian. Naruto planned to add the other Jinchuriki to their upper levels once he finds out about them, but till then it's just the demons. The last level, number 10, is in the Valley of the End. It's guarded by the Jubi, who has the ability to manipulate energy, and the Rakudo Sennin, who has all the abilities Naruto has discovered he can do with or without the Rinnegan and the ability to control matter. Naruto had one last safety measure in his mindscape. 1 was exact copies of both Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. Their only purposes is to go through the levels unhindered and learn the abilities of the intruders, thereby spreading that knowledge to the other level, and if it comes to it, stop said intruder. Naruto's mindscape is based on the world as he wants to see it, with changes in areas that he wants to make different. And while he hides some useless information in the hidden villages, he hides all of his personal information in the moon that orbits the world. Path to rebirth, present time. As the 4th year to Naruto training came to a close, Hiruzen came up with an idea to further push Naruto into the right mindset. One day while Hiruzen was over at the Uzumaki house, he told Kushina that he was sending Naruto over to Water Country to participate in the civil war that was going on. When Kushina asked what Minato would be told, Hiruzen looked to Naruto before saying Naruto had run away without being found. At first you could say that he was furious at the idea, but as soon as Naruto started backing the idea and told her that his other senseis agreed to it, her resolve to see it not happen crumbled away. The night before Naruto planned to leave, his mother called him to the dojo they had behind the house. As Naruto entered the door, he saw his mother sitting on the floor with a beautifully crafted sword on her lap. Kushina waited for her son to sit down before she began talking. Naruto-kun, I have called you here to give you this sword. It was meant to go to the better of the Uzumaki Kenjutsu style between you and your sister, but as we both know, your sister went down the path of overpowering everything instead of focusing her power. This sword was one of 3 weapons made, one given to each of the clan heads of the Senju, Uzumaki, and Uchiha clans during the clan them to protect them. Kushina took a pause in her speech before continuing. One was the fan and sickle used by Madara Uchiha. It was lost to age after his death. The second was Hashirama Senju's bow staff. It is locked away in his grave. The last was given to Ko Uzumaki. It was a guard-less curved-handled shakudo. Unlike other swords, Ko never gave it a name. These weapons were all made from a special mixture of chakra metal and an unknown element, this new metal came out almost unbreakable. Naruto was both awed that he would gain such a strong G-sword and kind of put out that he didn't earn it fairly from his sister like it was meant to be earned, but he wasn't going to complain. Thank you Ka-san. I will be careful on my journey to Kiri, Naruto said, trying to reassure his mother. I know you will, you're strong, no doubt about that, but it is my job to worry about you as your mother. Kushina explained. There is one other thing I want to give you before you go. Naruto looked up in surprise that he would be getting something else. Kushina looked at Naruto with a smile. I was known for this ability in my prime as a shinobi. She handed him a scroll before continuing. In that scroll are instructions to use my chakra chains. Naruto gave a small kind smile before hugging her and spending the rest of the night talking with her. Path to Rebirth. 3 miles outside the village of Konoha we see Itachi talking to a man with an orange mask decorated with black flames across it, and he will be leaving for an unknown amount of time. To gain experience in the Kiri Civil War. It was quiet in the clearing for a while before the masked male said, that's good, he needs to learn how the world really works. What is the excuse for his departure? Without a wasted second Itachi answered, he will be reported missing in a few days before someone figures out he was either kidnapped or he ran away. Okay, that works. I'm assuming you're the one taking my beloved grandson there. He finished with a chuckle. Itachi showed some surprise but quickly hid it, but not quick enough for the man before him saw it. Don't act so shocked, Edic. Who else do you know that he could be related to have so much natural talent? Then he gets even more from his relation to Hashirama Baka and Mito. With his head still bowed, Itachi asked, what are your new orders now? The masked male looked at Itachi with a tilted head before saying, with Naruto-kun outside the village, I think it's time for the Uchiha clan's death. Itachi grimaced before the masked male said, don't worry Itachi, you are allowed to let 2 people live but no more. For the first time during the whole conversation, Itachi looked up at the man with thankful eyes, before saying, thank you. And your orders will be done, Madara-sama. Then he left. Naruto-kun is coming along nicely. So strong at such a young age, he may be a problem to my plan, but if something happens to me, he will be the next best option to take up my mantle. With that thought done, Madara backed up into a shadow and disappeared. The end. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.